Meeting will please come to order. Welcome to our April 7th board meeting. Wow, I wish it was June 7th.
You and me both.
We have our roll call. Ms. Castle on personal problems, so she will not be here. Otherwise, all our board members will be here. We have two representatives, Mr. Ryan Osmanskowski. Did I get that
Closer.
right?
It's closer every time.
Osmanskowski.
Osmankowski.
Thank you, Ryan. And Alexa Duros from Tokay and Ryan from Lodi. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one report from closed session, placement of non-public school students. Mr. Gerald Calkin, motion, George Neely, second, and the board approved the placement of non-public school students 2014-15, number 99 and 100 by the following vote, 6-0, 1 absent. That takes care of all our business for closed session. On the spotlight, Ms. Vedeka, you got the floor.
Good evening, President Nava and members of the board. Tonight we are going to recognize a student from Liberty High who won a speech contest, Alejandro Osorio. First, I'd like to bring up the principal of Liberty High School, Tammy Samari, to tell you a little bit about Alejandro.
Thanks, Mrs. Vedeka. I'm just basically going to introduce Alejandro and let him tell you his story. But we're very proud of him. He competed in a speech contest with the Lodi Tokay Rotary Club with Dr. Washer as a member of. And there were 5 students, and he won that contest and then went to regionals and was a runner-up at the regional speech contest where there were clubs represented from Modesto and Galt and Lodi. So it was quite a competition, and I will say every other student that was in the competition had been a regular student in speech the last 2 or 3 years and was in a speech class. Alejandro is a newcomer. He is not in a speech class. He just decided to participate on his own with a lot of support from one of our instructors, Steve Jordan, and Jack Dunn, a retired administrator with our district who has taught and still teaches at Delta College and has been a great support. So I'd like to introduce Alejandro Osorio. He is a product of Lodi Unified Schools. He's been through several of our elementary schools when he started young. I think he's changed schools a total of about 14 times, but all within Lodi Unified. And he is a junior this year, is back on track, and is going to be going back to Tokay next year as a senior to graduate with his class. So I'd like to introduce Alejandro Osorio.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Alejandro Osorio. I'm 16 years old and I attend Liberty High School. I was born in Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico, and around the age of 5 or 6 years old, my parents divorced, which even led to a bigger separation within our family. My mother and I came here as immigrants, as foreigners, to a completely different environment, to a completely different country. There were many first experiences that we faced, such as my mother trying to find a stable job to just support us, and me on the other hand, it was very difficult for me to kind of adapt to a whole different country, you would say, trying to learn the English language at a young age, and just trying to make friends, and just trying to be excelling academic-wise, I would say. But we had some family members here, which it really helped us. It was my uncle and my aunt, and they took us under their wing and provided my mother with a stable job and shelter for us. And throughout my time growing up, my aunt was a very big role model and a family figure for me. She was like a second mother that I really didn't have, as my mother was always working. She loved me. She fed me. She always took care of me as a mother would do. And my uncle, on the other hand, was like a father figure in my life. He was always there for me as a father would do in a young child's life. Always was very supportive, taught me how to play sports, taught me how to fish, and was just there for me. But as time passed, they had to move back, and it led my mother and I just alone. Very frightened my mother was, and I saw her go through many things that I wish no single mother and her child would go through. But through her eyes, I saw determination and effort and motivation, and that made me want to be more in life, be something bigger than what I am alone, to give my children a better future, to not be in the position that she was at that moment. I've had no real sense of support as I was growing up, which evidently led me to attend Liberty High School. But just because I attend Liberty High School is not going to stop me from achieving my dreams. There's many people who might bring up Liberty High School and have a negative sense, a negative connotation the word Liberty High School has around here. I've talked to a couple people and they may say that just a bunch of chumps, soon-to-be dropouts, are attending there. You know, not much good comes from it, but I'm a living example that second chances are a very beautiful thing. Not only has it helped me, but it's really exposed me to the educational support I never really experienced at any other school. I dream to become a registered nurse. I plan to go to a community college and transfer to a 4-year and complete my credentials. I just want to be successful and happy with who I am and what I've accomplished in my life, because who would think that a child, an immigrant from Mexico, could be where he is now, serving and just fighting a bigger cause. And most importantly, I just love being part of something. I want to become an RN because it truly amazes me how it impacts each life, how one person can impact another being, and how helpful they really are. I love being part of my community, and I enjoy participating in food drives, community service, or at the Lodi Boys and Girls Club. I have a passion for helping people, making a difference, whether it is small or big, personal or national. I didn't know who Rotary was until I read one of their magazines recently, and it truly amazed me how inspiring and motivational it is to see an organization primarily focused on helping and transforming each and everyday lives. I come to conclude that a dream is just a thought, a possibility waiting to happen if you are willing to act on it. Just because you make a mistake does not make you a mistake. Just because you screw up doesn't make you a screw up. And just because you fail doesn't make you a failure. You are not your downfalls. And I just love the concept that Liberty has exposed me to, giving me a second chance in my path of success. To not just dream, but to act and do it now. That would mean turning from a participant in the field to a spectator in the crowd, as otherwise, or a passenger in a car to a driver of your life destination. To not just dream, but to do it now and to act. The world is waiting, and they can tell the difference. And I just want to thank you for Liberty High School, because without that educational opportunity, I wouldn't be here. Thank you very much.
Alejandro, do you have any members of your family here?
No, my mother is working.
Just as usual, huh? Very great, touching speech. The speech was very touching to me because similar situations happened to me, not as hard as yours, because I had 2 parents and you just had 1. But very articulate. My gosh, what a speech! I haven't heard, you know, people coming from another country like that. Not even myself could do that at your age, 16. That's amazing. I appreciate your speech, and I want to congratulate the coach, Ms. Almera. The coach, very nice. My gosh, what a coaching effort there. And I'm sure that's, again, an encouragement for Alejandro to go further on and make the dream come true. Okay, thank you, sir. Another recognition? Ms. Bedica?
These are the exciting times. Every year we get to recognize those accomplishments that we have at our schools, and tonight, even though it is a recognition again that they're going to Washington, D.C., we are going to recognize the Science Bowl winners. It's a hard record to keep up, but we expect to do this every single year. I'd like to have Mr. Sandtram come up and introduce his Science Bowl.
Thank you, Ms. Bedica, Mr. Nava, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Mrs. Heberly. Can you, all you Tokay students, come on, bring the hardware up too, Mr. Moulton. Let's go. As Ms. Bedica said, it's not that it's just it is pretty cool that it is an annual thing, but to keep it going as an annual thing is no small accomplishment. It's with different team members from one year to the next as some students graduate and we get other younger students filling in. But to keep the intensity up, to keep the level of competition up, and I can tell you that the level of competition from other schools this year, like Clovis and things like that, is increasing year by year, partly because they want to knock Tokay off the pedestal, and we're doing everything we can to make sure we stay up there. So I would like to introduce Ms. Heberly, our coach, and have her introduce our team. So, Susan.
Thank you. I really appreciate that introduction, and we'll talk about the teams in just a moment. I wanted to just give a little recap of the competition. So tonight we have several of the team members here. Rachel and Stephen Boyle play in the Stockton Symphony, and they could not be here tonight because they have an upcoming performance. But we have 2 teams, the purple team, guys raise your hands, okay, and the gold team. And so basically in the competition, the first round are what are called round robins, where you play the other teams and the top 8 teams compete in the afternoon. So both teams, the gold team and the purple team, were undefeated, and they moved into what's called double elimination. So once you lose twice, you're out. And of course, we ended up playing each other. And the gold team beat the purple team. So the gold team went on to play Clovis, and we went on to play Enochs High School, and it came down to 50, it was 50 to 50 with moments left. They made a technical error and we did not, and won 54 to 50. It doesn't end there. So then, of course, we had to play the gold team because they had played Clovis and they lost, and now we had each lost a game, and we had to play each other for third place, and the purple team beat the gold team, giving the gold team the third place overall winner. Yay, guys. And so now the purple team had to play Clovis, who was undefeated, and we played, and at the half, Clovis was ahead, 28 to 26, something like that, and we ended up winning 54 to 50 again. you just can't, it's just difficult to believe that the purple team had to play 12 games straight in a row. And now Clovis had lost one and we lost one. And we were in the finals, playing for first place to determine who was going to Washington, D.C. to play in the U.S. Department of Energy's National Science Bowl. Big deal for everybody. We're again at half. They're ahead by a couple of points. And it came down to the last minute, and we were ahead by 2 points. And sure enough, Sally rang in with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And our team they got 4 points, and then they had the bonus, which they knew, and they let the game clock run down to the end and gave the correct answer for the bonus, 10 points. So we were ahead now by 16 points with about 10 seconds left, and that meant that there was no chance that Clovis could win. So I have quite a few things to say. First of all of the things that we do take an enormous amount of energy and time by the parents, and if you're a friend of the Heberly families, sometimes you get roped into doing things. And my own children, lots of people have been extremely helpful, and we really appreciate that. I want to say that Science Bowl, as you know, is, for those of you who've been out here, it's math, biology, chemistry, earth and space science, chemistry, and energy. Just a few categories. And on top of all of that, you have to learn to be resilient. You have to learn to be confident in your answers. You have to be willing to make mistakes and pick yourself up and go again. And the time and energy commitment that it takes the students is incredible. As I was calculating it out, I realized that all of the purple team members who are seniors, and one that's a junior, he's not here, have each individually put over 1,000 hours of studying, practicing, and doing whatever it takes to become actually the people representing the Central Valley of California. And on top of all of that, they have taken a lot of their own personal time to help, especially elementary and the middle school students in science and in math. Often they're used helping them. They put on a summer program, they're helping 5th and 6th and 7th graders. They're always volunteering, and I could not ever be prouder than I am of this group of students with their kindness, their dedication. God, I'm going to miss them. I do want to say also, I'd like you to, I'm going to let them introduce themselves because that's a good skill, and then let them tell you what their area of specialty is on the team. Andrew is the team captain, but our other team captain is playing at the symphony, and where they might be going to school. Some of them have big decisions to make, and some of them have already decided. So without further ado, why don't we introduce yourself, tell what year you are in school, what team you're on. You're only supposed to give students 3 directions at a time, but let's forget that. And tell them what your areas of interest and expertise are. And if you're an upperclassman, if you're a senior, what school you're going to go to. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jack Goebel. I'm a freshman on the gold team, and my areas of expertise are physics and energy.
Hello, my name is Matthew Hashimoto. I am a freshman on the gold team, and my area, and my areas of expertise are biology and chemistry.
Hi, I'm Simran Dillon. I'm a senior and I'm on the purple team. I do astronomy, earth science, and biology, and I plan to attend UC Berkeley this fall.
I'm Andrew Moton. I'm the captain of the purple team. I'm a senior. My areas of expertise are energy, physics, and earth science, and I plan to attend either Georgetown University or Harvard University this fall.
Hi, I'm Anna Vigueris. I'm a senior on the purple team, and my areas of expertise are chemistry, earth science, and biology, and this fall I will be attending Cornell University.
Alright, my name is Sally Chen and I'm a senior on the purple team. My areas of expertise are biology, chemistry, and math, and I'll be attending either UC San Diego, USC, or Dartmouth College to study cognitive science as well.
I just want to say too that one of the things that the team told me at the last time, they also participate in Science Olympiad, is that they all have the joy of learning. And what more could you want in an educational system than people having the joy of learning? So, good job, guys.
One more thing to say. We've done so much as a team. We've studied 1,000 hours or so, but a lot of this couldn't have been accomplished without many of these teachers who are here tonight. So we give so much respect to those people here tonight, as well as our families and one another who we've been competing with these past 4 years.
Oh, good. That would be an honor.
Right in the middle, Mr. Nova. I want you to hold the banner.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see it. Are you afraid? Here we go.
I know.
Put them on. Put them on.
Susan?
I'm so sorry that I forgot to do this, but I do want to thank my husband, Ron Heverly, who gets who's given up his house and garage and gets things ready and fills in and does an amazing amount of support work. So, thank you.
Susan. Miss Heverly?
I was on Family Feud, and Richard Dawson let me say I love you to him too.
Susan, can I just say congratulations and to the teachers and yourself who've done a lot of work on this and helping these kids. And also, using it as kind of a sports model, you're losing your team, to free agency, like college. But I bet that you probably already have draft figured out for the next team.
I'm taking applications.
Thank you.
Susan, congratulations to you and your team. I know the gold team has 2 freshmen, and I saw the game last night. Duke University had 2 great guards as freshmen, so I kind of looked at him and I thought about that, gave me that thought. But I know the hard work that you do because Ron shares a lot of his thoughts to me, and my gosh, I go, what an outstanding thing that you people do in your home and the students, the benefit of the students that they get from you. Thank you very much. Ron?
I just wanted to let everyone know that
You know, a lot of times all we ever hear are the negative things about, you know, America's youth and all this. Well, let me tell you, when you come in contact with students like this, and there are many, many, the majority, thousands of kids that are wonderful kids, we have a pretty secure future, I believe. One of a principal approached the coach and asked, "Wow, you know, what's the secret?" And she said, "It's no secret. It's hard work." And it's just like the air was out of the balloon. It just deflated them. It's but these kids have a really strong work ethic. They really work, and that's why they get the success that they have. And even in addition to that, they're really nice people. They volunteer in the community. They're very involved in their school. They take care of each other. It's really a pleasure getting to know them, and I wish them all the best and good luck in your future.
Thank you, Ron. All right, continue with the agenda. We have Superintendent's Report. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Members of the board, I'd like to share a few things with you. First of all, I'd like to show you how your students at Tokay High School are using the technology tools that you have provided. This comes to us from librarian Tanya Richards, who is very proud of the technology efforts at the school and works hard to help kids. And I'm going to let you watch just a little clip here. This is a trailer of a book. Hit any key. Well, I'm sorry you couldn't hear the sound with that, but students were to create a trailer of a piece of literature, and they designed the graphics, they put music to it, they did the background, they did the narration to present their book in a trailer form. And this is just one small example of how they're using technology at Tokay High School. So congratulations to Tanya Richards, and thank her for sharing that. If you're interested in this and want to see more and actually hear it, you can go on to their website. They have samples there for you, and some students did theirs in Spanish as well. A couple things to share with you from McNair. There have been competitions all over the place. McNair has brought home a lot of awards. Their health occupation program, as you know, that this is a fairly new academy at McNair, and here's a picture of the students there. They went to a state leadership conference in Sacramento. About 3,000 students attended, and our students from McNair did very well, several of them ending up in the top 10 level of their events that they competed in. And a little interesting side note, 2 graduates from McNair who were part of this academy recently are now at UC Davis and started one of these clubs at UC Davis, and that team is now competing in competitions. So what happened here at McNair with this academy has now expanded to the UC Davis campus, and that's very exciting. Also from McNair, students competed in the Mesa competition at UOP, and there were many winners there from the McNair team in their disciplines. They had some 2nd and 4th place and 3rd place winners, and a 1st place winner in the area of calculus. So congratulations to those students as well. Want to let you know that Lodi Unified, we are having
Dr.
our,
Washer,
yes.
Before you move away from McNair,
please.
It's also been brought to my attention that the Cortopassi Awards has recognized 2 McNair teachers. Is that correct?
That is correct. Again
in
yes.
science, and that these 2 teachers are Alicia Wong and David Pierce.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. From familiar, that's a very prestigious award, and there's a lot of competition.
Very competitive, outstanding accomplishment, and also receiving award is Kristen Winterhalter, now at Lodi High, and formerly from, wait for it, McNair.
And they claim her too, yes. Absolutely, thank you for that. We are having our second annual certificated job fair. As you recall, this was a huge success last year thanks to the personnel department and their efforts to put on this amazing event. It will be April 15th here at the district office, starting at 3:30, going till 7 o'clock. We had a huge, this place was packed last year, so hopefully you'll be able to stop by, say hello, shake some hands, let folks know that you want to welcome them to Lodi Unified. So please, if you have a few minutes on that day, do stop by. It is a wonderful, wonderful event. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Washer. Change a little bit on report. I think we'll get some freshness out of Ms. Katoski. Mid-year report on Read 180, Systems 44, and the iRead programs.
First, I'd like to say thank you, President Nava, for adjusting the agenda for us, because I have here with me Sam Howell from Scholastic, who will be flying out late tonight, and we wanted to be able to get him out on a good flight and not have to run to the airport like, I don't know who that professional player was, but he doesn't have to rush, so thank you for doing that.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, President Nava, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Sam Howell from Scholastic is here with me tonight to share with you our mid-year gains report for our Read 180 System 44, and down through the presentation you'll see some preliminary data of our iRead program at our elementary school. So I'm going to turn it over to Sam, and he's going to talk with you.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam Superintendent, and members of the audience. My name is Sam Howell. I'm Scholastic Senior Vice President, Academic Planning and Analysis. My job is to take the data that comes from Lodi and with my team, 3,000 to 4,000 districts around the country, analyze the data and show people, in essence, what have you gotten for your investment, how's it going, and how do we make sure that it continues to succeed into the future. What you're going to see here is a look at the data that's accomplished in one semester. You're going to see it for 3 programs. The first is Read 180, which is designed for students who are 2 or more years below grade level. You will see that the average student entering the program, while there are few in grades 4 and 5, the majority of students are in grades 7 through 10, and most of those students entered the program reading at a 3rd grade reading level. So they have pretty significant literacy challenges. The second group that you'll see is data for System 44 students, and System 44 students are designed for upper level students that are performing below the level of the 2nd grade in terms of their basic reading skills. They need help with foundational skills in terms of phonics, decoding, and fluency. The third program that we'll look at will be data from iRead, which is designed for kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade students. It's designed to teach them the basic literacy skills so that by the time they get old enough for Read 180 and System 44, we hope they don't need it. In the iRead data, you'll see students that arrive at school with very significant literacy challenges and what the progress is they've been made. The final comment before I show you the actual data slides is to recognize that while this says Read 180 or System 44 or Scholastic or iRead on the slides, the reality is that each of these are merely tools. A bit like a surgical tool in an operating theater, in and of itself it's very powerful, but it cannot do anything. All of the success that you see in these slides is due to the hard work of teachers and students in the district. Without them, the program does absolutely nothing. So keep that in mind when you see the successes. First and foremost, you know, the question that comes as you look at any form of data is, who's included and who's excluded, because that ultimately shapes the quality of what you're going to see. In this analysis, we're looking at about 1,000 students for Read 180, about 1,000 for System 44. And the inclusion criteria are most important. If the student has 2 tests, a matched pre-test and post-test, and they're 8+ weeks apart, and they showed up and participated in the program for a total of 10 days, they're in the analysis. For analysis of this sort, that's a very low threshold for inclusion. So we're casting the net as widely as possible. If I was to narrow that to only students with 50+ days of instruction, I could make this look even stronger. But I've cast the net very broadly because I want you to see what's happening widely in the district, in lots of schools and in lots of classrooms, because that gives you the most accurate perspective. In terms of growth, we look at it in several ways. First off, we're looking at it in improved Lexile performance. Lexile is a measure of reading skill. As opposed to saying a student is reading at a 5th grade level, we might say that they're reading at an 800 Lexile. It provides a more granular way to measure that. And in one semester, we're seeing 37% of students that have exceeded their annual growth goal, and 13%, which is inside the 37%, have exceeded twice that goal. Now, 37% looks like a modest number, but I want to put that in perspective. If you're an 8th grade student reading at a 3rd grade level, thus far in your academic career, you have achieved about 3/10 of a year's growth, or possibly 4/10 of a year's growth per year of schooling thus far. 3/10 of a year, or 4/10 of a year per year of schooling thus far. And yet in a single semester, 37% of students have exceeded a full academic year, and 13% have exceeded twice that. Again, it does not happen magically because there is something called Read 180. It happens because teachers are doing hard work in classrooms with students to make this happen. But if you're closing the achievement gap at the rate of 1 year per semester, or 2 years per year or higher, then you're really changing the trajectory of a student's life. Because if you're a 6th, 7th, or 8th grade student reading at a 3rd grade level, your risk for completing high school is pretty high. If you don't complete high school, the U.S. Census data will tell us that 50% of the students that do not complete high school at age 25 have 0 reportable income. That impacts your community, that impacts the educational attainment upon which businesses look to make investments in the community. So it's important that all literacy challenges be addressed as swiftly as possible and as strongly as possible. And nothing addresses it stronger than being able to close that achievement gap at a rate that's faster than 2 years for every year of schooling, particularly when that's 4 to 5 times anything the student's ever achieved thus far. So that's the starting point. Oops. When we look at usage metrics, we look at we're hoping to see over 50 sessions of usage in software sessions. We're hoping to see over 5 segments of software content units completed. And as you can see, implementation metrics, usage metrics are very strong. We talk about 13% of students. We even talk about 37% of students with over 1 year's growth. We want to point out to you that some students individually had over 3 years' growth in a single semester. And our argument for that population is you've really changed the trajectory of their lives. Now, we show you 3.4 to 3.7 years worth of growth. It's an anecdotal slide. We're pulling those out individually. But what I want you to see here in the 1 to 4 years growth rate, look at the percentage of students that have done that. So what you'll see here is that in some schools it's 22% or higher. In some schools it's in the 30%. In a few schools it's in the 40s. And in Lockford it's at 50%. So my team looks at data from 3,000 to 4,000 school districts each year. 20 to 30% is good. 30 to 40% is strong. 40 to 50% is really excellent, and about 5% of the schools in the country can get a number of 50% or higher. So you've got some very strong implementation at Lockford, Beckman, Henderson, Delta Sierra, Lodi, to name just a few. And again, If you're seeing this when it says Read 180 Superstars, what I want you to remember at the top of the page, strip out the name that says Read 180. This is testament to hard work by teachers and students. We then look at the slides, and I'll let you see several of these, but they look at it in terms of growth. The red bar is mean Lexile growth at a single semester. The black bar is expected growth for the full academic year. And the reason that the black bars vary in size is that we calculate growth based upon a student's grade level and pretest level. Because if we were to plot learning to read, it's not a straight line. It's a curve with large steps that are expected in grades 1, 2, 3, and very small steps at grades 10, 11, 12. So the real question is, where's the student on the curve? The lower they are, the bigger the increment they have to travel. So anytime you see a red bar that's further than halfway up the black bar, then what you see is that you're starting to, you're going to have more than a year's growth, and in some cases you're going to have a lot more than a year's growth. And that's really what we're looking for. Take a look at Henderson. Take a look at Houston. We're already above that point. Take a look at Bear Creek, almost to the point of a full year's growth. So that's Read 180. Again, that's designed for a population 2 or more years below grade level. System 44 is designed for students who are struggling with the foundational skills in reading. That means the decoding words and being able to do so in a fluent manner. When we look at distribution through the program, there are 25 series in the program, and you can see the majority of the students are working in the early part of it. It means they're working on basic alphabetic principle, letter sound correspondences, etc. If we were to break this apart, what you would see is that the special ed students are concentrated under Series 8, as are some of the third graders. But by the time you get into the 4th through 6th graders, they're distributed out from Series 9 up to about Series 25. And we want to get students up into the Series 25 and out of the program. When we look at growth through 2 measures. The first is the Scholastic Phonics Inventory. And we don't really expect much growth in that, that measure until the students have progressed past the 12th series of the program. And then once they get up above the 20th series, we see Lexile growth, which is measured with Scholastic Reading Inventory. And the reason that that takes longer to reach that point is that Scholastic Reading Inventory is a measure of comprehension and vocabulary. And you really have to be fluent as a reader before you can handle a comprehension and vocabulary test. In terms of results, what we do is we look at the decoding levels first and foremost for the Scholastic Phonics Inventory. And we're looking for a shift from dark green to bright green. Color's not my strong suit. Those are the right colors. Dark green on the left, bright green on the right. So a decline in our pre-decoders, a decline in our beginning decoders is correct, and a rise within developing and advancing is what we want to see. And once they reach the advancing decoder level, we want to evaluate them for exit out of the program into Read 180, because the idea is push them through, push them out, and allow them to continue moving forward. If you step back and look at the data, what we see is about 3 out of every 4 students have seen an increase in Scholastic Phonics Inventory in terms of accuracy improvement. We look at growth in accuracy and fluency. Accuracy is the leading indicator. It rises in the first semester. Fluency typically doesn't rise till the end of the second semester, because it takes more time to master that. And you've got 45% of students with more than a year's growth in fluency, which is really quite rare. We would typically not expect to see that level of growth until the end of the second semester, but you've done that within 1 semester already. And we've got 16% of the students reaching an advancing level where they're ready to exit. If we test them with the SRI, which is really not particularly designed for them at this point because they need to be up to a higher level, we still see nearly 1 in 5 students, 18%, have exceeded their full year's growth target. So again, strong growth in fluency, strong growth in terms of literacy for the absolute lowest students, recognizing that a significant portion of them are within your special education category. Again, this level of growth is very strong, and once again, a testament to the work by teachers and students. The last one I want to look at is iRead. iRead is a program that's designed for kindergarten, first, and second grade students. And it's designed to build the foundational skills at the beginning so that the interventions of Read 180 and System 44 may not be needed as the student grows to higher grades. First and foremost, we're looking at data from about 1,700 students. And you know, what I want you to see here is the difference between their initial placement level. Kindergarten students, out of 416 that we have data, 379 are working on uppercase letter recognition. At first grade, 318 are still working on uppercase letter recognition, and 104 students are working on it in second grade. It's easy to look at this and say, gee, what's happening? What I want to put you in perspective is to say, this is a function of what we see all over the country. It's a function of children arriving at school who don't have the basic literacy skills when they walk through the door. And this is what your teachers are working with. This is at all levels. This is what's happening in the classroom to make it move to be successful. So this is what arrived at school in terms of the beginning of the year. What you're going to see at the end of the semester is a very different picture in a moment, because a lot of these numbers have shifted quite dramatically. So first off, we look at growth for students at the kindergarten level, and we can see that 379 students started the year right at topic 1, figuring out what the letters of the alphabet are. But they're making progress in the program. But they're not yet up to first grade level material. For those that started in first grade, you can see some of them on the far left are still below that blue shaded area, which means they're working on kindergarten material. We're starting to move students into the first grade level content by the middle of the year. And then for second grade students, the majority of the students are still working in first grade level content. We have some students still back at kindergarten working on very foundational items, and some are starting to, on the far right, crest into the second grade level. But the real picture of movement is here. We started the year with 50% of the students working on uppercase letter recognition. We've dropped that in half. We've moved a vast majority of the students into working on lowercase letters, letter sounds, and even the introduction to blending and segmentation. We started the year at first grade with 308 students working on uppercase letter recognition. The vast majority of students have moved almost entirely through their kindergarten level curriculum. They're working on introduction to blending and segmentation, and then working on, the start of first grade material. And again, the majority of the second graders have moved solidly into the first grade material and moving on their way. In summary, what I would say is strong progress for children who came into the district with significant literacy challenges, and we're seeing strong signs of success. And this success, once again, is due to the hard work of students and teachers to make this happen. And that really brings me to the end of the presentation. Congratulations on the good work. We look forward to continuing to work with you, to assist you. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to try to entertain them.
Yes, Mr. Neely.
Mr. Kataskis, thank you very much. It was a great presentation. I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Thank you. I do have some questions. Ms. Kataskis, this is more aimed toward you. You probably be better able to handle this. How many of the students, how many students do we have that need Read 180, System 44, and iRead that aren't receiving that support?
A lot.
Can you define a lot?
Currently, we only have iRead at 8 of our elementary school sites, and I would suspect that all of our school sites need iRead, and that's part of our plan next year is to push iRead out to all elementary school sites, K2. So that should help us. But when I look at overall the data of all of our students at like third grade level, we don't have a huge number of our students in the proficient and advanced range right off the bat. We're about 40–45% proficient. So we have a lot of students that need to have some intervention.
So this will be implemented at the other schools by the beginning of next year?
That's my plan. If you guys approve the requisition, that's where we're going.
That sounds like a good plan to me. I like that a lot.
And Mr. Neely, members, I want to remind you that iRead is not just for students who need that intervention, that it is beneficial for students who are at grade level and even above grade level because it adjusts to their level.
Okay, all right. Is it an ESL program also?
No.
We had talked before about Read 180 being helping English language learners.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that iRead is an
Okay.
ESL program.
All right. And then our System 44 and iRead, are they set up somewhat similar to Read 180 where you have the 3 different groups?
Yes, in grades 4 through 12, yes. They are set up in the same manner of the 3 groups, and the children rotate through the 20-minute groups. In 3rd grade, System 44, it isn't sufficient to do their English language arts program, so it needs to be in addition to that. So it's another hour that they attend for just the System 44 piece. And it's a smaller, much smaller group of kids, about 15 kids per that time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Would that then be a pull-out program for them?
For which program?
For the System 44, the kids that need that. When you're saying that 15.
Currently, we have it operating in a pull-out program at some of our Title I sites, and in some cases, it's in the classroom. But iRead is a program that can be done in the classroom because it's not a replacement for, it's a supplemental program for everybody.
Mr. Neely?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Want to make sure I'm clear on this. It's going to be at all schools, but are all the students at those schools, do we have enough license for all the students that need the help, the extra help at those schools to get it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
So you're telling me that next year, I'm just trying to be real clear here.
No.
Next year, every student that needs reading intervention at Lodi Unified, iRead is going to get it.
Right.
Okay, what about System 44? Is that not the case there? And Read 180, is that not the case there?
I don't have the funds to do every System 44 or Read 180 for all of the other non-Title I sites.
So we're still going to have, there goes that warm fuzzy feeling I had about it. So we're still going to have kids who need reading intervention above and beyond, which we're not going to be able to afford because Mr. Howell charges us too much for that. Is that how that works?
Personally get those checks.
We need to work on that gap.
That reminds me, last time you were here, somebody on the board suggested that you could use us as an advertising tool, therefore cutting our costs and let's talk. I did have a couple of questions in. So one of the things that we talked about at the last presentation, I saw it again tonight, were the superstars. Last time it was like 10 students. Is that where we are now? The superstars are a small group? I think I might have missed that.
Superstars is actually a large group. We've got 1,000 students in the program.
It's still that same number, because that's what you were using is that 1,000.
Yeah, it's out of 1,000 students, 343 had 1 to 4 years worth of growth and over 20 sessions. It's important to recognize we capped it at 4 years. We capped it at 20 sessions of usage and had a pre-test score of over 100 Lexils. The reason we do that is that in the very rare situation that a student decides on day 1, I don't want to take this test and gets a 0, and then decides to take it seriously 6 months later and has an 800 Lexile gain, we don't believe the pre-test was accurate. So what we say is if the first test was artificially low and the gains were artificially high, we toss that out of the picture. Okay?
And that one of the concerns is and you did address that, as who is included of all of those kids in there, because you want accurate numbers not a marketing tool.
True.
And you know, and I don't mean that in any offense, but let's face it, that's life. So I want to make sure that we are getting true statistics. On the iRead, and that one I have not seen in operation yet, and I will. But let's say you have the number of kids that enter kindergarten who start iRead. By the time they're done, how many of those kids are at grade level reading? Not just kindergarten, I'm saying first grade, second grade. I mean, can you give a percent? Say, well, 50% of them are going to be at grade level, or is higher or lower?
I would say that we have some research studies we've just published. It was done up the road in Napa, California. We can get you a copy of that research study. It would answer that more clearly. My colleague who's with me, I'm not going to put her on the spot, though she is capable at the break of answering that question because she formerly worked in Napa and is familiar with that research study more so than I am. But there is information available. What we're finding generally is that it takes time for students who are arriving at school without basic knowledge of the alphabet and letter sound correspondence to come through iRead and to move to function on grade level. So it's taking longer than we might have anticipated earlier, but the program is moving them through at their own pace, and that's where we feel thankful for that. But the actual conversion rate, which is what I believe you're asking me about, is probably in that research study, and we will make sure that you get a copy of it. It's literally been published in the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks, thank you.
An executive summary or a paragraph would be fine.
That would be fine.
and really, because that's one of the things that a lot of people are trying to do is get kids at grade level in reading. And of course, earlier we start, the better off we are.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping to push down from secondary, from high school, Read 180, that we would have fewer and fewer kids in high school in Read 180 because we're starting them earlier.
Absolutely.
So, how's that trend going?
I can give some anecdotal information on
Perfect. Yeah, sure.
regarding that. As I have met with some of the middle school principals, they have already indicated that they have seen less of a need to place students in Read 180 at the middle school because students are since we have it already in some of our elementary schools, they see less student needing intervention at middle school, so they go right into the core. So they're seeing already a drop in that intervention need.
We're also hearing from elementary teachers that students who are in iRead, they're seeing fewer students needing System 44 or Read 180 at the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade level. In fact, in a couple schools that we visited, the only students who needed that type of support were students who were in a special education program.
And that is the idea, and the goal was to, okay, we're going to start it here and work ourselves down and get ahead of the ball game instead of waiting for them to fail before we go, aha, we need help. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Womack.
Yeah, Ms. Kotowski, just earlier it was said that to get part of this study that we're looking at right here, they'd have a pre-test, post-test, and at least 10 sessions. How long a period of time do they have to get those 10 sessions in?
There's typically, depending on the implementation level,
Every day.
so it would take 2 weeks. So there's the software is being used every day, so 5 days a week, 2 weeks that they would do it. But you could have had 10 days within an entire semester. So during a 90-day block from the start of the school year to the end of the semester, if you were able to be in the class and use the software for 10 times, you were included in the analysis.
That answers my question. Sure. Because I wanted to see if we have absentee issues and what have you, that the child doesn't get a chance to do that. So there's plenty of time to do that.
Yep. For inclusion in the analysis, yes.
Correct. The other thing is, I saw this at Creekside. I sat in on a session. There were some some positive side effects to this is the whole class was involved. So it didn't have a stigma to it, and the kids were working next to each other at different levels and enjoying it. It was very engaging. So what I saw was very positive.
Thank you.
Mr. Freitas?
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Thank you for a wonderful product. And Ms. Katowski, I remember at our study session, we were talking about that Read 180 was going to be available.
Correct. We talked about that we were going to try to place interventions, English language arts intervention at all of our schools. And so that iRead was one of them, and Read 180 was also one of them. So
I understand it's a living document. I understand that the final draft hasn't been, but that's still the intention. We haven't deviated from that course.
I'll have to, as Mr. Hearn would tell me, if I want that, I'm going to have to give up something else. So I'm going to have to weigh that very carefully.
Sure. Okay. We have a
Thank you.
Comments from the audience?
Hi, yes. I'm Lindsay Ortegal from Borchert Elementary, and I just was wondering a few questions. We're not a site who has implemented this, but listening to all the wonderful news with iRead, I just started thinking about, with it rolling out to teachers next year, we had a few questions, such as what devices are going to be provided for the teachers to implement this in their schools. When is training going to occur for teachers to learn how to do this, especially with sub shortages and being called back from such trainings? What time of day will teachers be implementing this, especially if our servers can't handle us being on the same time during common planning? If we say all of second grade's going to implement this, say 10:30 in the morning until 11:30, will our servers then be able to support that? And also, I'd like to just add that these teachers making all these gains are working on 2008 wages with 2015 technology. So I want you to take into account that as we discuss
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susie Reed. I'm Dr. Washer on the board. I hadn't expected to speak on this. Thank you for the presentation. I have to teach a night class tomorrow, and I'm listening to this, and I'm reading about reading in the brain as you're discussing. And one of the things that I just wanted to bring up, that one of the reasons kids enter school with the inability to read is not just environmental, but the brain is not wired for reading. It's one function the brain is not genetically coded for. And I'd also like to note that Katz, Fay, Tomlin, and Zhang say that children with language impairment in kindergarten have improved their spoken language abilities by 2nd and 4th grade, had better reading outcomes than those with persistent language impairments. So even though these are great tools, and I applaud the use of them, they do not replace teachers, and they don't replace sensory and neural underpinnings that kids gain through involvement with their environment. The brain develops a foundational network, and that is by development of the sensory system. Kids who participate in PE and physical activity show better reading gains. Kids who develop auditory processing as it is through the development of their language and social interaction. And that interaction is not just with the computer. It's with their teachers, it's with their peers. And so if you really want kids to do well all around, they also have to have that language and social development that comes from time with people. And I'd also like to mention that because we have just heard that the district is asking special educators to cut what they call duplicated services in the areas of language development, and asking teachers to take over the job of speech and language therapists if they're in special day class. Which is ironic to me because I'm a speech and language therapist as well, and I just asked for some testing protocols to test one of my students, and I was told that was not my job. So I'm kind of confused, but I just want to emphasize that these kids with language impairments are not reading because their auditory systems aren't developed. And current literature shows that when we go back and develop the processing mechanisms for these students, not only does their language improve, but in a juvenile prison population, recidivism drops by 85%. So we have long-term social consequences for the development of full human beings who have these other experiences as well, and who have the kind of language intervention that they need from trained professionals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
I just wanted to say that thank you
Name,
to the board.
please.
Bethany Harris, Claremont Elementary. I wanted to say thank you to the board for offering these 3 interventions, the reading interventions. I have 6 System 44 kids in my class. They're excelling amazingly. Some of them are doing better than the other students who are higher than them. They have really good self-esteem now. They love going to class. Our System 44 Read 180 teacher is here. And again, I just want to say thank you, because I'm just so excited that these kids are getting the intervention that they now need.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Kotowski, thank you very much for your presentation. Sam, very great, thorough presentation, and I like how you rattle all out without any notes or anything like that. I appreciate that. And you know the system, and that's part of your thing. Again, I think we're in the right direction. You know, our board, I'm sure members would like to see every student read at the 3rd grade level when they get there, because what happens, it opens up their eyes and they get enthused. I was just telling Mr. Womack, it's just like learning how to whistle. If you ever, when you were a kid, you learn how to whistle, you're whistling inside the house and outside, you learn something that's exciting. And here you got your parents, be quiet, be quiet. But when you get that book, you got your head in the book and you're reading, and that's the key to whole learning. Okay, thank you. Thanks again. Thank you for your presentation. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to let the board know that Scholastic is a sponsor for Casino Night.
We'll take that 25,000.
Okay, we'll continue with our agenda. We have action item, consent agenda A, routine business. Any members of the board want to pull out any items on consent agenda A?
Mr. Knob?
Mr. Womack.
I'd like to pull A1 just for a quick question.
A1. Anybody else? Any members from the audience would like to pull any items from the routine agenda?
Mr. Nava.
Yes, Mr. Neely.
Move to approve consent agenda A as modified.
It's moved by Mr. Neely.
Second.
Second by Mr. Talkin. That we approve the rest of routine agenda A. Call for student vote.
Approved.
That's the new one. Thank you. Board vote. Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent. Mr. Womack, item 1A, please.
Just a quick question for Mr. Hearn. The cell tower incentive, additional income, does that mean that's more than what we had anticipated? We're getting more back than we expected?
More than what was budgeted, yes.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
To the budget.
Very good.
I'd make a motion that we approve A1.
Mr. Womack moved that we approve item A1, second by Mr. Peverly. Student vote?
Approved.
Board vote? Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent. Continue with agenda. Consent agenda B, student discipline cases. Mr. Neely.
Approve consent agenda B.
Second.
That's moved by Mr. Neely, second by Mr. Womack to approve consent agenda B, student discipline cases. Students do not vote on this, so we have to call for board vote. Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent. Okay, we have other action items, ratification of a tentative agreement with Lodi Supervisorial Group. Mr. McKellican.
Mr. Nava, we've reached a tentative agreement with the supervisors and is presented tonight to you for your approval. It has been ratified by the employees.
Thank you. Board comment?
Mr. Nava.
Mr. Neely.
Move to approve tentative agreement.
Second.
We move to approve by Mr. Neely, and second by Mr. Talkin, on the ratification of tentative agreement with the Lotus Professorial Group. No student vote, board vote. Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent. We're on to personnel matters.
Mr. Nava.
Mr. Neely.
Move to approve personnel matters.
Second. Mr. Neely moved. Mr. You had some interference here. Mr. Womack second to approve personnel matters. No student vote. All in favor. Board vote. Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent. Communication, comments from student representatives. We'll start with Alexa today.
Mr. Nava, members of the board, Tokay is going really well. We're coming to a close to the school year. I just wanted to talk about a few things tonight about what's been going on. We had our March blood drive, and that was really successful. I had a ton of donations. It's always great to see a lot of students really excited about the blood drive. A lot of advertising went on, so it was really cool to get the blood drive out there and a lot of participants. We had our Spirit Week last week, the first week back from our 2-week break. We had a really successful Spirit Week with a lot of participation. We had Spirit Days like Military Monday and Time Travel Tuesday, so it was really cool to see all the students dress up. Our casino night was really awesome. It was a huge fundraiser. We got a lot of money and it was also really fun. People were really excited because they won some pretty cool prizes, like there was a mini refrigerator and some really cool headphones. So it was really cool to watch all the students come and buy a bunch of tickets, and it was also really great to earn some money from that. We had our male pageant, the Mr. Tokay pageant. That was really funny, and it was the second time we've done it. It was really we had a bunch of boys participating with different talents. One boy jumped over about 6 people laying on the ground, and another boy lip synced, so it was really cool to see all those boys participate in a pageant. And a special recognition to Marcos Ortega, who was our winner for this year. I'm really happy to report about Lodi Middle. We went to Lodi Middle and it was extremely successful. We had so many different clubs and sports there, and we gave a bunch of advice, and the middle schoolers really enjoyed it. There was a lot of laughs from the comedy sports. It was the 3rd year we did it, and we thought it went perfect, but there's always room for improvement, so next year is going to be even better. Special thanks to Mr. Harris, who kind of puts that all together, and it was really great. Student government is going well. We're planning a lot of events. We're selling prom bids right now. Our theme is a midnight summer dream, so we're really excited for prom, all the juniors and seniors. We're practicing already for Powder Puff, which is our female football game against Lodi High, which we won last year, so we're hoping to defend our title. We had a rally on Friday. It was a class appreciation rally. Freshmen dressed up in white, sophomores dressed up in black, juniors in green, and seniors in orange. It was really cool because actually in our rally, at the end of the rally, we had the giant surprise flash mob. So it was really awesome to see just a mix of colors at the end, just kind of end the day in unity instead of the class separation. So the flash mob was really successful. We also had Hawaiian dancers at our rally, so that was really interesting to watch. It's always great to get some professionals in there. We have a lot of impressive college acceptances. Andrew already talked about it tonight, but Andrew Meton got accepted into Harvard, which is really great for Tokay, and we're really proud of him and all the we're really proud of him and all the other students that got accepted to all the great colleges. We also have a lot of seniors that are getting a bunch of scholarships and already committing to colleges. So it's a big step in all the seniors' life, but we're all really excited. There's a Tokay Lodi track meet this Thursday at Lodi, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, it's next Thursday. It's next Thursday. Our spring sports are going well. It's baseball season and girls soccer team, boys tennis, everything's kind of rolling now. We have a lot of Tigers supporting them. Our baseball team actually beat St. Mary's on out of one of the 3 games, so that was really exciting for us because it's always great to beat St. Mary's. And we have prom coming up May 9th. We have our senior versus staff game that we're planning. Of course, graduation on May 26th, which all the seniors are eagerly awaiting. And our comedy sports, we have a comedy sports game this Friday night, 7 o'clock in the theater for anybody that wants to come out and watch. And that's it.
Thank you, Alexis. It seems like you're having a lot of fun at Tokay.
Yes.
I'm also impressed with your articulation with Lodi Middle. I think it's such an important thing that those youngsters know what to expect when they get from the 8th grade to the 9th grade at the high school level.
Yeah, luckily I was one of the students that got to go, and I actually got to talk to a bunch of the 8th graders and 7th graders, and I'm involved in cheerleading and student government, so I give them advice on both of those things, and they're all really excited to go into high school. And I know when I was an 8th grader, I wasn't that excited. I was more intimidated, so this is actually, I think, really beneficial. And we're really excited for once this year graduates, and I think next year we'll finally have every single year in high school, they got to witness this when they were in middle school. So we're really excited for that because it's so beneficial, and I wish I had it when I was an 8th grader for sure.
Very good. And you are the first high school to graduate this year. That's early, 26th.
Tuesday, May 26th.
Okay. All right, Ryan.
Well, I'm lucky enough to have 4 more days at my amazing high school, so I'm very happy with that. So first of all, are any of the Tokay students still here for the Science Bowl recognition? Is any of them? No? Okay.
They're studying, Ryan.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But I guess I can comment without them, though. I just want to congratulate them. A lot of them I've known for many, many years. Almost the entire team, actually. And I'm just so impressed with everything that they've accomplished. I mean, just how many times Andrew Moton is one of my best friends, and like how many times I've texted or called him and be like, hey, let's hang out. And he's like, no, I'm studying Science Bowl. I mean, every Sunday for the last 4 years, he has said, no, I'm studying Science Bowl. Like, when are you free? I'm not. I'm studying. So I tip my hat to them. That's incredibly impressive what that competition is. So that is that. Next, casino night. We had our casino night on March 13th. It was a great fundraiser put on by student government. We had prizes donated by a lot of local organizations, as well as some that were purchased. We had prizes, everything from Giants tickets to Pietro's gift cards. So thank you to everyone who helped put that on. If any of you or your spouses or friends or neighbors or family members donated anything, I know a lot of high schools are asking for a lot of things, but I just wanted to let you know it is very much appreciated, and it really helps our schools get along, so thank you. We have our Powder Puff girls football coming up. It is pretty much exactly the Tokay equivalent, but at Lodi, and then they'll have the clash together. Our prom preparations are coming up. Our prom will be on April 25th, and I have a bid right here. Yeah, it is a black tie affair. It is very, very pretty. Yeah, I don't have a date yet, but we're working on that.
You need help, Ryan?
No, maybe. I don't know. So we're really excited. The juniors are doing a great job putting that on. They're spending a lot of great time preparing that. In other news, our speech and debate team has some amazing successes. We've sent our dynamic duo of Carly Bombach and Jocelyn Howard. They will be going to Dallas in the summer to compete at the National Speech and Debate Tournament, which is a huge accomplishment for those two. Carly is just a sophomore and Jocelyn's a senior. So really, really impressed with them. And then on top of this, about 7 of our kids will be going down south for the state tournament later this month. So we had our Millswood rally, which was similar to their Lodi Middle rally. Thank you, Mr. Heberly. I saw you there, right? Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't see anyone else to show up. It was really hectic that day. I ended up with egg on my shoe. I don't know how, but and it was great. Mrs. Lindsay, the principal over at Millswood, just did an amazing job coordinating all of it and really working with us. We brought over about 40 kids or so to explain what Lodi High is about. We had athletes, we had club members, everything from speech to Science Olympiad to CSF was there. We had a great student testimony from Oscar Mendoza, who was just an amazing sort of inspiration to a lot of kids to, say like, oh, I wasn't always that star student, but I really, worked hard and I made things work for myself. So I think I don't know necessarily what you thought, but it was
a great message.
Okay, yeah. So Oscar did a fantastic job with that. Our sports teams are solid across the board. A couple of things to mention. Mason Blancett has committed to Whittier College for baseball, so congratulations to him. And also our first track meet was on the new track a few weeks ago. Thank you to Mr. Womack for coming out there and officiating the long jump pit. That was amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it.
He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah. So that was really good. And let's see here. We've started at Lodi High School a sort of cell phone discussion where a lot of the students are being very interested in looking to revisit the district cell phone policy. So I'd really like to thank Mr. Lofsted. I know I saw him here earlier. I don't know if he's still here or not. But hi, Mr. Lofsted. But I really admired him for coming into our student government class for an entire period and sort of talking with us as to why the policy is in place, what, kind of working with us, discussing with us as to ways to progress in the future with it. So I think we have a lot of potential, and there may be some change coming up. So I don't know. We'll talk, and there's no consensus yet, but I think there's a lot of room for growth. So next, our grad night will be May 29th. So right after graduation, our Lodi High Parent Club has a great tradition of putting on a grad night where there's amazing prizes. They've been working incredibly hard at this, and that'll be after graduation on May 29th, which is 4 days after showcase. And then lastly, and this isn't just unique to Lodi High, but the entire district and even other districts, but the Yesterday Again Film Festival, we have some amazing numbers that have just come in. The submissions were last Sunday. We have over 40 film submissions this year, which more than doubles last year's. As well, we have 11 high schools on board with this, which once again doubles last year's. A few thanks to some huge sponsors. I saw Dr. Keithley from Lions Club. Thank you so much. Michael David Winery, Chase Chevrolet, and Middle College PTSA. And I think this is an amazing event because it really brings together all of, just all of the passion of kids across our district, across others. It brings out competition, it brings out art. Pretty much everything you hear from anyone that gives presentations about, what does it take? Oh, it takes hard work. Looking at some of these films, you can just tell the hours they've put into it, the passion they've put into it, and it's so cool to have those sort of projects, but in an academic sort of environment. So the date for that will be May 23rd. We will get more info to all of you coming up, but we're just very, 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 I don't know if I can express it, but we are very excited for it. And that is what's going on at Lodi High. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Great things are happening at Lodi High School. Very good. I'm sure that cell phone will do well. You have to have responsible people, and I'm sure Lodi has that. And of course, the leadership at Lodi will pass that on to the other students as far as that hopefully goes well for you guys. Okay, continuing with the agenda, we have comments from the public. I have some cards here, and I'd like to first introduce Maddie Chesley. Maddie here.
Hi, my name is Maddie Chesley, and I've written a letter to the Lodi board members. So, dear LUSD Board of Trustees, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of my mom, who is a kindergarten teacher at Needham School. She told me and my brother, as we were driving to school this morning, that she was coming to this board meeting and wouldn't be home until late. She explained us the importance of her being here to show support for a union for a fair contract. She hasn't had a raise in many, many years. I am in 4th grade at the junior school in Mrs. Farah's class. After hearing my mom explain all the reasons why she needed to be here tonight, I felt frustrated for my mom and all the teachers. She also told me that Stockton Unified had come to a fair contract agreement. I asked my mom if I could come speak tonight because I felt very passionate about treating teachers with respect and fairness. My mom had to survive a war and is grateful to be here in America. She was 9 years old and started school in 3rd grade without knowing English. She put in a lot of effort in order to graduate high school with a 4.0. She had the grades to become a lawyer or a doctor, but she didn't. Her passion was teaching to give back to the world. Without the compassion and love and kindness from her teachers, she would never have made it this far. Every person in this room can think of at least 2 teachers that have made a difference in their life. For me, I have Mrs. Smira and Ms. Feldhusen. If anybody in the universe deserves a fair contract, my mom does. There are 4 kids in my family that needs a college fund. Please don't stop me from going to college. I already know what I want to do, and I'm only 10 years old. I want to go to the Academy of Arts in San Francisco to become a character designer for animated movies. My teachers have always been there for me, especially when I lost my father, and I think of them as family. Teachers have the most important job in the world. Without them, the world would be a different, sadder place. I'm only 10 years old, and I know the value of teachers. Are we not all family, all of us? Shouldn't we all treat each other fairly like family? Aren't we all here to support kids like me? You, the board, have the power to make a difference. Thank you for your time. I have to go home and go to bed now. It's way past my bedtime.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you very much. Again, I want to remind our speakers we have 3 minutes for the presentation. Next on the agenda is Martha Snyder.
Good evening, Mr. Nava, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. Tonight I'm here to speak about one of my passions. I'd like to start my comments tonight by thanking Lodi Unified School District through my principal, Pierre Kirby, for sponsoring part of the cost for me to attend the CUE conference in Palm Springs in March. The conference was well attended by school districts throughout Central California, as well as the United States and Canada. As I shared my conference notes with most of you on the board and Dr. Washer, I welcome the opportunity to discuss my learning at some point and address any questions you might have. At the conference, I was able to coordinate activities for Krista McCullough's upcoming free Professional Development and Family Day on April 25th. This year's event is called To the Common Core and Beyond. For the 3rd year, our school will be hosting a hands-on experience showing community how we integrate technology and prepare students for the critical thinking demands of CASP, formerly known as the SBAC. I'd like to offer a face-to-face invitation tonight to all of Lodi Unified School District. I'd like to thank Lisa Katowski and Lori Lott for forwarding the electronic invitation to the district personnel. I recommend signing up sooner than later. This event is open to all Discovery Education subscribers in Northern California. Moreover, our 6th and 7th grade families are also signing up in large numbers thanks to the staffs at our feeder schools. Beyond the April event, Discovery Education is offering a summer institute again this year. For the 2nd year, there will be a principal summit July 9th through 12th. I hope I can count on you for your encouragement and support to have Lodi Unified School District principals apply and attend this technology integration professional development that is specifically designed for them. I also thank you for promoting technology integration training for all educators in Lodi Unified School District, and may they continue to go beyond the walls of our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. We have Cindy Reinhardt. Is that correct? Last name? I know. I'm sorry. What is the last name?
Reichert.
Reichert. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Cindy Reichert, and I am a first-year teacher teaching a 1-2 combo at Larson. While I'm a first-year teacher, this is my 14th year being part of Lodi Unified. How do you ask? I have attended Lodi Unified Schools since kindergarten. I feel extremely lucky to have attended Reese, Woodbridge, and Lodi High. While having some of the world's best teachers along the way. I graduated Lodi High in 2008, which happens to also be the last year that teachers received a raise in Lodi Unified. When I first heard this, I was shocked. I was able to complete my bachelor's degree and get my teaching credential and received a job in Lodi Unified, all before those teachers who educated me received a raise. Growing up, I wanted nothing more than to be a teacher because I had the greatest role models. I could tell you the name of every teacher I ever had in grade school because those teachers had such an impact in my life. I strive to be half as great as those teachers were, or still are, and channel them often when I'm teaching. In the LCAP document, it states that Lodi wants to recruit and retain highly qualified educators. I can't imagine a district who wants to retain highly qualified teachers cannot pay a first-year teacher a wage that makes it possible for them to live in the city they teach in. Just like every other teacher in this room, I did not become a teacher to get rich. I became a teacher because teaching is my passion. However, I cannot live on passion alone. I need a fair and competitive wage. I love teaching, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm a very great teacher. I want this district to be everything I remember it being growing up. I want teachers to feel motivated, valued, and respected. However, if this district continues to show a lack of understanding, respect, and compassion for their teachers, I will have to look elsewhere for employment in the near future. You will not only lose quality teachers, but the young generation of teachers who were raised on technology and who are ready to impart that knowledge to the next generation of learners. If you truly want to retain highly qualified teachers, I'm right here. Do the right thing, pass a fair contract, and retain me. Thank you.
Suzanne Reed.
As you can tell by my brown shoes, I forgot about wearing black, but I wore blue, and it seems to me the two kind of go together because I'm feeling a little bruised with this situation. I'm not here to talk about the salary. There's enough people to talk about this, but I am here to talk about special education children. During my administrative credential, I read a book called Groups in Conflict, right, by Kenwin Smith, and in the premise of the book he says, I wrote this book to find out why I became what I despised in my youth and how I can justify in myself what I condemn in others. And as we look at situations, all of us bring a perspective, and there's shades of gray, and there's truth in every piece of everybody's ideas about things. But when we sit on the rock in the sunlight and that fog of perspective clears, there are some elemental and essential truths that emerge. And one of those truths is that all faculty and teachers and CSEA, everyone who works together as a family, deserves to be treated with respect and regard, and that all kids deserve access to life. I know a lot about disability, being born with no hip sockets after being exposed to the plutonium from Hanford Atomic Works. I walked on wooden pegs from the ages of 2 to 4 in a full body cast. And after 27 surgeries, I refused to not have full access to life. My kids were affected and had problems, and I thank Susan Heberly for encouraging my son Seth, who had dysgraphia and went through 7 years of therapies for that and sensory problems, and is now a merit scholar and doing brain research at UC Irvine, because Susan's the one who taught him. He came back from Washington and said, oh, I know who I am now, Mom, I'm a leader. Thank you, Susan, I can never thank you enough. But as we look at these essential truths, I'm very confused about Lodi's stance on special education. As I mentioned before, we're getting conflicting mandates all the time. We don't know what to think. If we get communication, we get conflicting mandates a lot of the time. All kids do not have equal access. The incidence has increased dramatically, and caseloads are increasing dramatically. There's not enough teachers. The caseloads are too high. I have an intern in one of my night classes that had 55 students.
20 seconds, Susan.
And the legal mandate is 28. I had students that were denied transportation for 40 days despite 10 phone calls. It should not be a fight to get services for kids, and yet that's what's happening. There's no BITSA for special ed teachers. What you do today and what you do in the next while is going to be with the redemption or the downfall of Lodi Unified. Your reputation is on the line because, as was mentioned, we can all move on. I'm going to retire next year. I'm not worried about myself so much, but I take it to heart very seriously. I know what it takes to overcome a disability, and it takes something extra. Our teachers are extra, and they need extra support as well as these kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lori Bradley.
Dr. Washer and members of the board, my name is Lori Bradley and I teach second grade at Reese School. I want you to know that I absolutely love being a teacher. With nearly 30 years of experience, I can't think of anything I would rather do than teach. Each day is a new experience, and I know that this is what I was meant to do with my life. That does not mean that every day is a piece of cake, and especially today with the rain, I certainly felt like I was on Mr. Toad's wild ride. But it's an adventure. Not every class gels as well, but I take my job very seriously and I work hard to create the best educational learning environment I can for my students. What I don't like about teaching is knowing that my beloved profession seems to be at the bottom of the LUSD priorities. I keep hoping that LUSD will realize that what teachers do every day is important and it makes a difference in kids' lives. And it really should be at the heart of LUSD. Teachers are on the front lines every single day, wearing many different hats and doing what needs to be done for the students that we are responsible for. All we are asking for is a fair contract that treats teachers with respect we deserve. You have the power to make LUSD a desirable place to work if you have the courage to make teachers a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Rout.
Actually, it's Denise Reich, and
thank you.
You're welcome. Cindy Reichert and I have about basically the same statement. I'm Denise Reich, and I am more of a product of Lodi Unified than 95% of everybody here. My mother and father went to Lodi Unified and graduated high school. My children did, as I did. And it's my kindergarten teacher was Eleanor Todd, a school board member that not many of you ever remember. She was one of the best. I can name all my high school teachers as well as my elementary teachers because they were the ones that were so inspirational to me. That is why I went to school. My Eleanor Todd was a teacher in Stockton Unified as I was going to UOP, and she started me off as a teacher of the deaf. When I came back to Lodi Unified in 1987, I was nominated for the first year teacher, as well as in 2000, I was the Lodi Teacher of the Year. I have a preschool deaf and hard of hearing class that not one of you have ever come into and seen what we do in my classroom. I would invite you in there at all times. You and my husband don't know how much I spend every month on my classroom. Lodi Unified has an open position as an itinerant teacher that I have been working on for the past 2 years. That job is open. I do that as a second job. I have been granted a time card, and I have not done that because teachers email me during the school day, and I do not want to double dip. So I do that on my own time. I am paid for sub days to go out and cover the itinerant deaf and hard of hearing kids that are in the general education classrooms and that need your support. I went to a meeting last week where I heard new special ed teachers that don't have BITSA. They're having to pay $3,000 to $4,000 on their own to get their credentials. We're losing those people. We're losing, there's a number of special ed teachers that are retiring, and they're not going to be able to service our special ed children. Creedence Clearwater Revival had the song Stuck in Lodi. I've always been proud to say, I am stuck in Lodi. I enjoy being stuck in Lodi. But a lot of these new teachers and the teachers that are here are not feeling like they are feeling the negatively stuck in Lodi. Please consider the contract and doing a fair vote for these teachers, because we don't want to have that negative stuck in Lodi. We want them to be enjoyed in Lodi. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Michael DiPolo.
Good evening. I'm Michael DiPolo. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. Thank you for taking my call. I am a second-year teacher. I am an SVC mild to moderate 456, and I came to Lodi because great schools need passionate teachers, and I am passionate. Much like my fellow newbie who's here trying to do the best that we can, there is no BITSA for special ed teachers in Lodi Unified. None. If I want to clear my credential and stay with you guys, I have to spend $3,000 to $4,000 out of my own pocket. Now, I did a little research on my own. $3,000 to $4,000 out of my own pocket. Other districts willing to cover my BITSA. Other districts willing to pay me $3,000 to $5,000 more a year and cover my full benefits. That's $8,000 to $9,000 back into my pocket. I don't handle the finances in my house. The missus does. And she holds a powerful lobby. When she hears this, it's hard for me to convince her to stay at this district. I love my students. I've only been here for 2 years and I'm hooked. Keep me here. Keep the other teachers who want to be here, here. Get a BITSA and allow us to service our kids so you can have one of the best special ed programs in the state of California. Thank you.
Lindsay Ontigel. What is it? Ortega?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lindsay Ortega, Orchard Elementary. I'm reading this on behalf of a colleague of mine. Hello, Board President Nava, Mrs. Washer. I'm choosing to have a union member read my letter because although I have been in Lodi Unified for several years, I am not tenured. Lodi does not currently offer BITSA for special education teachers, so clearing my credentials is taking more time and more money, $4,000 to be exact, than my general education colleagues who get BITSA for free. I'm choosing to leave out specific information for fear of my job. However, I feel you need to hear my story. I currently work in an elementary SDC class. I have 16 students that I need to work with every day. That is 16 children, 16 IEPs, and each child has at least 3 goals. In total, that is 48 goals I have to cover in a day. On top of that is the IEP paperwork. I often spend 2 to 3 hours every day after school working on paperwork I cannot get done during the school day. Of my 16 students, 8 of them have violent, physical, aggressive behaviors that often require me to intervene for their own safety and the safety of those in my class. So that is 48 IEP goals daily, recording 8 students' behavior daily, and when I tally up my time for doing such paperwork, I spend 4 to 5 hours outside of my school day doing paperwork, and I'm not compensated for any of that extra time. Now, I'm not trying to be a complainer. I love my students. I love my job. I can't imagine working with any other group of students. However, at this point, it's not a matter of if I leave Lodi Unified. It's a matter of when. Let me say that again. It is not a matter of if I leave Lodi Unified, but when I go. I could go to Woodland Unified in Sacramento and get $3,000 just for signing a contract. So I asked myself, why would I stay? Why stay in a district that doesn't care about their teachers and doesn't compensate them? Why stay in a district that doesn't care about its students? Look, everyone behind me has one thing in common. We care about our students. I care about the students that most people can't handle. I would go so far as saying that none of you could handle my class. These people behind me in the trenches, they are working day in and day out, nights and weekends, holidays, breaks, to be the best they can be, to give their students the best education possible. There was once a time when you two were here. There was once a time when you two were in the trenches working day in, day out for your students. Once upon a time you were sitting with us here asking the board to pay your worth. You were working to master the craft of teaching. Somewhere you've lost sight of that. I'm asking you to pay me my worth. Then maybe I could pay my medical bills and PG&E in the same month. I wouldn't have to decide on whether to get groceries or put gas in my car.
Keep reading.
Can I ask for just a minute? I end with two thoughts. One, if you were me, if you gave 4 hours to your precious time and paperwork, you would have to live to unrealistic expectations of people who never worked in education. If you had to be in the trenches every day, what would be worth your pay? Secondly, the Lodi Unified mission statement states, Lodi Unified School District will ensure the best education for students in a successful life. Lodi Unified value statement states that it continues to value contributions and commitments of teachers and all of staff's educators. This teacher is more than willing to take her commitments and contributions to best educate students in another district that will pay her her worth. A district that really wants to retain and recruit teachers, that doesn't just care about their image.
Aaron Akins.
Good evening, President Nava, members of the board. This may be one of the few times you see Lodi and Tokay united up front here. How you doing, guys? I'm here this evening on behalf of the 80 coaches that assist with the 21 sports and 42 levels of athletics offered at Lodi High School, who coach and supervise the more than 900 student athletes at Lodi High alone. In the past 2 years, we have seen an increase of more than 50 student athletes. That makes up more than 40% of our student population. These statistics are very similar at each of the comprehensive high schools in our district. We are requesting that the board reinstate the stipends that have been cut since the 2002-2003 school year, which include an additional 11 stipends. We are in desperate need of additional coaching stipends in football, track, and wrestling, as well as head coaching stipends for girls cross country, boys and girls JV water polo, diving, girls badminton, as well as a stipend for a trainer. We are not asking for more stipends, we simply want back the stipends that the district felt was a priority at one time. The backbone to success of the athletic programs, student success, and the school climate are the coaches. Their responsibilities are numerous. We expect them to plan, support, and supervise for little to no compensation. They must be knowledgeable not only in their respective sport, but also in coaching techniques, all while having a direct responsibility to the players on the team, the high school, as well as the district. In many cases, it costs the coaches to coach. With no transportation provided by the district, coaches are often required to transport student athletes and themselves to contests and games with no compensation for mileage and wear and tear on their vehicles. We must give the coaches the support they deserve. I hope that each have had an opportunity to be a spectator at one of the many sporting events held at the 4 comprehensive high schools. They are a microcosm of school climate. If you want to get a feeling of how engaged a student is at school, check out a local sporting event. From the student section to the parent section, you can see the pride that students, staff, and the community have in that school. Please show your support to the thousands of student athletes and hundreds of coaches in Lodi Unified School District by proving to them that we, Lodi Unified, produce more than one-dimensional students because we provide co-curricular programs and provide constructive outlets for our youth. The first step to demonstrate this good faith is by reinstating the coaching stipends. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. I, David Hurley.
Mr. Nava, member of the Board of Trustees, I try not to speak unless I have something to say. I know you've heard a lot today, but I really would hope that you hear me. We heard lots of wonderful things at the beginning of the session today, and it's amazing what our kids are doing. It's really a reflection on our teachers and our administrators and the district goals as a whole. But what I see that, there's an undercurrent that's growing. We have an infection within our district, and we just keep slapping Band-Aids on top of an infected wound. And the infection is the fact that we have staff that are now becoming disenchanted with being a member of our district. As members of the Board of Trustees, you have the opportunity to support and enhance the culture of our district. Teachers and classified employees are the backbone of our district. Nothing happens in our district unless it starts in the classroom. As you may be aware, I have a very unique perspective on the influence and the power of a teacher. Having returned to the classroom 10 years ago after being an administrator in 3 separate districts, including our own, 20 years of being an administrator. An excellent teacher is the most important factor that raises student achievement. To me, the issue is not about money, but we always gauge our success or failure on the amount of money that gets exchanged. Teachers and classified employees in this district have shown their willingness to support the goals of their students by taking significant concessions several years ago. Despite the lack of movement in contract negotiations, teachers continue to show up every day. They prepare for their classes. They spend additional time before and after school to help keep student programs taking place. That's our strength, but I'm afraid it's interpreted as our weakness. In negotiations, it appears to me that such a hard line taken by our district representatives can only be a reflection about the fact that they know that we'll always be there. It's well known that Lodi Unified School District teachers will always do what's needed for students, regardless of the contract situation. There are some other reasons that we might be taking such a hard line, but I'd prefer not to share those at this time. The board has the ability to do what is right. The board has the ability to do what's fair. You have the ability to solve the machinations in a fair manner, allowing teachers to spend their Tuesday nights this spring preparing for students rather than sitting here at a board meeting weekend every other week. Let's stop the machinations. Let's put an end to the posturing. Let's stop playing games and contribute and embrace your role by contributing to the culture of our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. All right, continue with agenda. We have comments from employee group representatives.
Good evening, President Nava, members of the board, staff, and my union colleagues. April showers bring May flowers, and boy, we had some showers today, didn't we? As employees, we pray that this old adage will ring true, and while the rains today are certainly welcome in the face of our extreme drought in California, we're also hopeful that metaphorically, the dismal weather that has followed us to the bargaining tables will clear to more serenity before the school year ends. April is a chaotic time of year in our classrooms across the district. Our teachers are preparing to give the Smarter Balanced Assessment, or whatever the acronym of the day is. Teachers from primary to high school are steadfastly preparing students with skills they need to undertake this new assessment. Yet it is not only the knowledge and thinking skills they need to take the test, but the skills to navigate and actually complete the new tests in their electronic format, and for teachers to work with technology to make sure that the computers are working properly so the students can actually take the tests. The role of teachers has undergone such a radical transformation in the last decade, and while some may wrongly say that this is just another swing of the pendulum, I would challenge those individuals to spend an hour a day or even a week in our classroom today. a new math curriculum, a new ELA curriculum in the next year, new science standards, integration of new technology tools, horizontal and vertical articulation, increased local accountability and assessments. Gotta catch a breath here for a minute. WASC, and the list is going on. Now more than ever, having experienced, highly trained teachers is critical for our students' success. And I don't think I could say this better than Dave just did, but our district is in peril. We are in very serious danger of shortchanging our students the single most important resource that they need, and that is the best teachers available. It is quick and easy to point to credential areas where we have difficulty hiring new staff, science, math, special education, but we are facing teacher shortages across the board. And why should teachers choose to work here? They can work in Lincoln Unified, where educators have received 5% increases to the salary schedule for the last 2 consecutive years. What can the difference be, you ask? A new teacher in Lincoln makes $46,129 a year. In Lodi, $40,492. The most experienced veteran teachers in Lincoln, they make $87,096. In Lodi, we're still at 2008 levels, $81,100. You see, when you get down to the narrative of numbers, it's really easy to see where different districts' priorities are. In Stockton, with a new tentative agreement reached between SUSD and Stockton teachers, new teachers will make $43,430, and they have a fully paid health plan available to them. Sadly, not only does Lodi not compete with them on a salary level, but our teachers can expect to pay an additional $200 or more a month out of pocket, $2,400 annually out of their salary, just to ensure that their families remain healthy. Lodi Unified received in excess of $20 million in new money this year, above 2013-14 levels, and that number may even rise by the end of the year. Next year, the district anticipates another funding increase of another $19 million. That's just shy of $40 million in 2 years. And what have we been told at the bargaining table? We value you in the amount of $1 million for 2014-15. That's the amount the district's willing to put on the salary schedule for this year. We value you in the amount of $2 million for 15-16. We don't think you need more than 1 day of paid preparation time for your classroom at the beginning or end of the school year. In fact, the district has proposed that teachers should only be giving 20% of proposed non-instructional days to prepare for the most important aspect of their jobs, educating children. Our district has told, as you've heard earlier, special education teachers, we need you. We're in desperate need of special education teachers, but actions of the district say that we don't value those same educators enough to provide them with the bits of services they need to clear their credentials, which are available free to general education teachers in Lodi Unified. No, special education teachers in Lodi under our current paradigm have to pay an additional $3,000 to $5,000 out of their own pockets to clear their credentials. So let's break this down. A new teacher has a job offer from Lodi, from Lincoln, from Stockton. Beginning salaries, Lodi's at the bottom. Out-of-pocket healthcare costs, Lodi's at the bottom. Out-of-pocket bits of cost to clear a credential, Lodi's dead last. Lodi is clearly not an education destination for educational professionals. Leah proposed contingency language at the bargaining table. We said that if LUSD exceeds revenue projections, then employees should share equally in that revenue surplus. The district's response was saying employees could share in 50 cents on the dollar, and the teacher's share of that is approximately 30 cents. Our bargaining teams met yesterday. Teachers are eager to reach a settlement with the district, but not at any cost. A settlement must be fair. It must value employees and the work they do. It must recognize teachers as professionals. Because when this district values its teachers, its classified staff, its pupil personnel staff, then our students win. Our community, our students, our employees deserve better. Please return to the table with a fair contract.
Thank you, Jeff. Any Comments from employees? All right.
Sorry, one more. Good evening, President Nava, Superintendent Washer, members of the board. I'm Deborah Radwig, the president of CSEA Lodi Chapter 77, and I thank you for this opportunity to allow me to speak this evening. I just have a few items of note. The first one is, we're pleased to be back at work after our restful 2-week spring break, and we're thankful for the rain, ready to see another school through to completion. We had the pleasure last week of honoring our Bridget Wilson at a festive recognition luncheon in Stockton. There were about 200 CSEA members and guests in attendance, and it was a great time for us to celebrate the work of our members. Spring, it seems, is going to be a time for us to honor a lot of different people in the CSEA chapter. In the coming weeks, we're looking forward to honoring our 2014-15 retirees. As a chapter, we'll be honoring our retirees with an evening of food, fun, and reminiscing. We're looking forward to possibly finding out, in Paul Harvey's famous words, the rest of the story to some of our retirees. We'll also be honoring our chapter members graduating high school seniors. Each year, our chapter budgets for 10 graduating high school senior scholarships. If the students are from Lodi, then we try to have the awards made at their senior awards night here, for our graduating students. We also are looking forward to enjoying our Classified School Employee Week Appreciation Dinner. We'll be holding that at Lodi High. All of our chapter members are invited to bring their families for an evening of dinner, prizes, and all-around fun with their union brothers and sisters. And in addition to our chapter dinner, our chapter members and their families are invited to enjoy an afternoon of bowling, fun, and food. CSEA always includes food. But we'll be bowling with the members from all over Central California as part of the statewide Classified School Employees Week celebration. And posters advertising all of these events will be showing up around the district on our bulletin boards. Let's see here. My union brothers and sisters and I remain committed to our goal of a fair and equitable outcome to our current negotiations. We're anxious to meet with the district tomorrow, and we hope to continue our progress toward completion. I must say, though, that it's troublesome. We've been told in negotiations that the district can afford the wage and benefit increase that we've asked for. It's just that classified are not a priority in the LCAP, and that prevents the district from giving a fair wage and benefit increase to our unit. We're not sure how to handle that, but what we've been doing is working to understand the scope and the effect of the local control funding formula and the local control accountability plan. We've attended meetings with district management. We've attended some of the public forums, the district English Learner Advisory Committee meetings, and now we're looking forward to the next LCAP public meeting on April 14th. We're hoping that that will be a lively, interactive event where we can participate in the presentation of the new 3-year plan for 15-16 and beyond, as well as how this plan will work to create the district proposed budget. As you can see, it continues to be a great time to be a member of Lodi CSEA Local 77, and I thank you for this time.
Thank you, Deborah. All right, continuing on with our agenda, comments from board members. Beverly?
Thank you. Lots to take in tonight, of course. I did want to let everybody know that the Elementary Science Olympiad took place recently at McNair High School, and there were approximately 52 teams throughout San Joaquin County. And if you can imagine 52 teams of elementary students that are high energy and a lot going on, wow, the energy level was high. And it was really quite a wonderful event. And luckily, one of the Lodi Unified Schools, Vinewood, took first place in the county. So that was something to celebrate. Also, as in years past, the custodial staff that were there opening up the school, making sure that things were running smoothly, and then cleaning up after all the kids. They do a really nice job of packing all their stuff as best they can, but I just did want to throw out some accolades there for the custodial staff who were working there that day. They did a great job. Also coming up, we've received notices, of course, of other academic competitions. There's going to be some math competitions coming up, spelling bees. So this end of the school year is really busy with a lot of academic competitions, and all of those provide great experiences and opportunities for our students. Thank you.
We can go with Mr. Womack.
Thank you. Just three things. I wanted to compliment and thank all the people who made donations to the schools. The donation was like $100,000 of donations to various schools from businesses and from individuals and from PTAs, etc. Also at Bear Creek, I attended the International Rally, which was an unbelievable event. It was really, really good. All done by the kids, singing and dancing, and it was very, very well attended and very good. And lastly, but not least, one of our own teachers at McCullough Middle School, Mr. David Yinger, was in the newspaper. And he is actually part of a country western duo called Cole and Younger. Changed Yinger to Younger, I think. But he actually wrote a song that's in the top 20. So I think that's quite a bit. He's quite a musician. So congratulations to Mr. Yinger. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Mr. Lee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nava. First of all, the idea of Tokay going to Lodi Middle, I think that's just a fantastic idea. That's a tough transition. You guys know, experienced it a lot more recently than when I experienced it. But then going from 8th grade over to high school is a big change. So anything you can do to help on that. Actually, it shows, our data shows that. Going from 6th to 7th grade is a tough transition, and then going from 8th grade to 9th grade is a tough transition. So thank you guys very much for doing that. I appreciate it. And Lodi, you guys, what middle school do you guys? Middle school. Are you going there and doing this?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. Good deal, yeah. Good deal. Good competition. Good answer. Deborah, email me the name of that person who told you that. All right? No one should have ever said that to you. That's totally uncalled for and untrue. Okay? So if you'll email that to me, I'll look into that. Well, we still got some teachers here. I'm going to say this again at the time for the next agenda, but I would like to see this BITSA placed on the agenda, the thing that we're not paying for there. We need to talk about that. That's not right.
Thank you. We are applying.
We what?
We are applying to the state board. We have to apply.
Okay, so that's going to be taken care of?
We're hoping that it's done for next year, but we can't guarantee their process on that.
I want it on the agenda.
Sure.
Because there's other ways of doing that too. If the state doesn't pay for it.
No, the state has to approve it.
Approve it?
Yes, has to approve us as a provider.
Someplace right now they're going out there and paying for it for themselves.
Yes. And whoever they're paying has been approved by the state. So
okay.
We are applying to be a provider.
Then my point is that we ought to be paying it for them.
Yes.
I'm going to select my next couple words real carefully.
We're listening, George.
I don't always do that well. I'll be the first to admit to it. But I'm shocked. I don't know where you get some of this stuff. That's about all I can say about it, because if I say any more, there'll be another cease and desist letter at the district office. And I didn't walk out on you, although I wanted to. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Any other board members with comments? I am very short. I have no comments today.
Mr. Nava, if I could clarify the job fair, I gave you an incorrect date. It's not April 15th, it's April 16th. I'm sorry.
April 16th.
16th, it's a Thursday. We'll send you an official.
Okay. All right, we have a board discussion. We'll wait a couple minutes. Yes. Oh, she doesn't have any fun.
I hope they're more.
Yeah. Dr. Washer? I skipped you. Comments from the superintendent.
I made my comment, thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll go with the board discussion on public use of Lodi Unified School District track facilities. Mr. Neely.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Okay, my name is on that, but this actually came about from an email that I got from Mr. Harmon, or Hammond, I think it was Hammond. I suspect that, is Mr. Hammond there? Yeah. Oh, thank you for that email, I appreciate that. And I sent a message to Mr. Coates on this too, because I knew we were going to have this discussion. I knew we've kicked this can down the road just as long as we can. I think that the people who spent years fundraising for the new Lodi track were under the impression that the public was going to be able to use that track. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But now it's locked up, it's padlocked. I think it's time that we visit and find a way to allow our facilities to be used by the public. And I know the reasons we shouldn't. They've been explained to me many times. My point is I don't want to hear the reasons that we can't do it anymore. I want to hear the ways that we can do it. There's got to be a way to make this happen. And I'd like to open that up for board discussion. See if I'm out there by myself or if I've got 4 people that agree with me or 3 people that agree with me.
Well, I would definitely piggyback on that, and I am under the impression that the last time we brought this up, that it was really close to resolution. We heard all the reasons why not, just like you said. And let's face it, our schools, especially the high schools, are like a mini community center within the areas of our district. They're great facilities, the tax dollars paid for it. I get it that it's wear and tear on the track. I get it that the schools have priority. Everybody understands that, who's involved in using the track, for, I should say not everybody, for the most part. I would like to find also a way, instead of excuses why not, reasons why we can. I just think it's so easy to say no. And one of the things that's really nice about Lodi High Track and Tokay High Track, they're very visible, which does cut down on vandalism if that has been a problem. You know, the community also did do above and beyond extra fundraising for that. And I really believe that when we left the last time on this discussion, it was that we were going to find ways to keep it open and accessible within reason. And I'm kind of surprised that we backtracked. So I am in support of looking at ways to keep it open for more accessibility instead of less.
Question: what are the ramifications of opening it up? In terms, is it the concern that people will come on and use the wrong shoes that would damage the track? Is that the basic problem that we're looking at?
Daryl, let me bring Mr. Sun. Mr. Sun, you're in the audience. I'd like for Mr. Sun to He's an expert on these facilities and so forth, and knows the law about why and why not.
That's good, because all I know is that the sand type of trash.
Yes. Mr. Son?
President Nava, members of the board, Dr. Washer. The district facility use and the grounds use are governed by Civic Center Act and the Educational Code 130, and also board policy 1330. So the policy does support for our school facility to be used by community, but through a facility use permit process. So during this facility permit use process, we will be able to monitoring and treat all the group the same, and also based on the Civil Center Act, that all these use of a school facility and the grounds should not result in cost of the district. So there's a cost associated by opening this facility to the public use.
Well, let me clarify kind of my thought about this is that I'm not talking about like the problems we had where there was a certain club, athletic club, that was kind of facility hopping and using the facility until they got run out, use this facility until they got run out. I'm not talking about that so much. And I understand you have to be fair and you have to have a use permit if you're an organization. And I'm not talking about club sports or any of that kind of stuff. I'm thinking of it more in the lines of, you know, I want to go exercise, I want to walk the track, I want to walk my mile a day on a track, and then I go home. One guy. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I agree with what you're saying. If it's an organization, there's a policy for that where they need to provide their own insurance, they need to, all of that stuff. And we make money on that part of it. I'm talking more in the lines of individual personal use.
My question is, prior to the development of the all-weather track, was the facility locked up before?
I don't believe so. We still have some schools and the grounds are not fenced in, but that doesn't mean the school property and the grounds should not be protected.
Okay, but the track was not protected previously. That's what my...
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, so...
I wouldn't say not protected, it's just not fenced.
Yes, it's open and anybody can come on and use it. And now that it's an all-weather track, it has been shut down or locked up. But is it because of the fear of people coming on with the wrong type of shoes? Or is it just something different now?
Whenever we have resources and, you know, we do for all, you know, as an effort to protecting the school from intruders, but that's, yes, I understand this is not the case, but we do want to fence our property for the easy management and the protection of our kids.
Dr. Tolkien, to answer your question a little bit, our initial discussion with, our previous discussion with board had to do with liability issues, not being able, or whether or not we would have somebody supervise, opening and closing the facility. Liability issues are huge. We did talk to board about concerns regarding that. I wouldn't say we're concerned about shoes necessarily. Other types of things that might cause concern would be strollers, dogs, alcoholic beverages, bikes. Those kinds of things would be more concerned than the shoes. So those were issues that were part of the previous conversation that we had with board.
Excuse me, Mr. Washer, but we did not have any of those concerns before?
Sure we did.
We just didn't address it.
Sure we did.
We didn't address liability. We didn't address easy
We're always
maintenance of
concerned
it.
about liability.
We didn't address any of the other things. But now Now that we've had a civic group get together and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in that, now we're concerned about it. You see my point? And quite frankly, if I can get 3 other people to support me on this, I would say it wouldn't be a discussion. We'd say find a way to do it. I'm at that point now. We've talked about this for a long time, and I understand your reasons. I'm just saying that I don't agree with them. And we need to find a way to make it happen. That's my point. I'm still looking for it. But I got one.
Mr. Sun, what is happening at Tokay? I know we went through this with the Tokay and Lodi Sentinel and that and so forth. What is happening at Tokay facility now?
Tokay is the same, and all of our facility, and including the fields, are fenced in, and all the permission for using those go through our office through a facility use permit process. So any individual or group, they have to request for facility use, and we will have to prioritize it based on the student, first. Then when facility is open, then we will look at it for outside group to use.
Are those facilities available during the school? I'm talking not from 8 to 2 or 3, but further on. Are they available at Tokay, and they could be made available at Lodi?
Could I answer that? Because that was part of the discussion that we did have at Tokay. Sure. And there is state statute on individuals, non-students, coming onto a campus when school is in session. Those individuals have to have supervision by a individual who is an employee of the district at all times. They cannot be on the campus by themselves under the current state statute. So when school is in session, that's one of the requirements. Also, to answer some of the questions, we've had open gates in the past. We have had a lot of issues in this district that we have been addressing over the last 4 years since I have been here because of liability issues and safety issues to the district. Was the district in great shape 4 years ago? No, we had a lot of holes in the system. And so, yes.
How many liability claims have there been at Lodi Track?
How many claims at Lodi Track specifically? Yeah. None that I am aware of at this point.
The whole time it's been open, there's been no claims of liability.
But we have claims from other individuals who have come onto our campuses and have filed suit against the district because of injury.
Mr. Neely, members of the board, I did provide, thanks to Warren, some dollars on what it would cost if you were interested in having someone open gates and lock them back up either on the weekends, holidays, or during break times, school break times. So we did provide for you some information on what it would cost to have somebody provide that service.
Dr. Washer, that would probably be the only way that we could open those facilities.
We'd need to pay somebody,
We need to pay somebody and have the supervision, proper supervision there, so we, excuse me, eliminate the liability. And
it's about $170 for half a day.
And I don't believe any of our facility right now is open to any public that just want to walk in and for exercise or use of a classroom.
Excuse me. Part of the discussion last time was if it was an organized group, they could get a permit. And with that permit, their members could go in and they would be able to use a facility. And one thing I want to tell my colleagues here is we have to kind of think in terms, we're talking Lodi Track right now, but whatever precedent we set, we need to think about it's going to be the district-wide. Yes. That's bad or good, but it's going to be district-wide. So there are concerns. I was talking to one of the coaches at Lodi Track when we went out there for opening day. He said one of the big things is to make sure they don't have the long spikes, but they use the short spikes. So there's different things that they're concerned about, strollers, bicycles, and things like that. So there has to be some control. So we're talking about balance here. I want to go along with Mr. Neely in terms of I'd like to see access by the public, but I also don't want to do so without full consideration of making sure we protect our property there as well, somehow. So the balance I see is maybe this group, the Lodi Track group, maybe they qualify as an organization and where they could get a permit and they would be able to give a key to somebody. We talked about that, where a responsible party could have a key and they could open up and ensure that it's a limited period of time. I just think there's something we could work out, but I would not support just saying you can come and go as you want. Because, you know, that's an asset that nobody wants to have ruined by somebody coming in and graffiti or something. So whatever works, however we can balance that, life's about balance, is I would like to see us be able to get access.
Ralph, that's what I'm asking for. That's why I'm saying,
Then we're together.
I want them to come to us and say, this is how we can do it. But all I've heard so far is why we can't do it. You know, I think your idea is great. I would totally support that. But let's find a way to do it.
Well, let's find out how to do it, and with those considerations in mind.
Well, one of the things that has happened now, Dr. Washer has brought forth information regarding the cost. If that's a valid cost, that is one of the ways to do it. I don't know whether it's every day after school and when does school finish, because you're talking about sports that go on forever. If you're talking Saturday and or Sunday, that's a different proposition.
Absolutely.
So I think if there is something that can come forth as a recommendation that would work, then I think that's what we would want to see.
We'll never know unless we start looking at it.
And this recommendation, Mr. Talkin, would be from who?
Well, it has to come through the superintendent.
We could do, if you're interested in like a half day on Saturdays, 7 to noon or whatever that might be, you know, we're looking at about $170 for a staff person to do that. If you're looking at full day, then of course you double that. So.
Provide lunch. I want some ways to do it.
Well, two things I just want to mention. One is we are already working with the Lodi High Track Club for their, joint use agreement, and we probably will be presented to here. So the student and the club members during, I believe, the month of April, March through April through the summer will be used for the track. On the track facility will be under the joint use agreement. The opening up the facility for public use, the implication will be we have to open up for all of our facilities, not just a track, swimming pool, stadium.
See, I disagree with that. I don't think you're right.
That is under Service Center Act.
No, this is a board policy issue, and you stated earlier about a board policy. Well, we can change a board policy. These people right here, we can set the board policy. It doesn't have to be about swimming pools. It doesn't have to be about all of that. We could incorporate some of that at a later time. There's ways that we can do that, but we need to start looking at it. To just sit here and say we can't do it is wrong. I'm sorry. We've got to find a way to do it.
Any other comments? Any comments from the audience?
Can I speak?
You bet.
This is a very emotional time for me because I'm Lodi Joe. Okay. So the board members know who I am and what I stand for. And I want to thank the superintendent for answering my email real fast and telling me about this meeting. I really appreciate that. The track has been out there 55 years. I've been jogging on it for 38 years. So we go there anytime I wanted to. And I appreciate Mr. Neal and the other folks trying to say, well, let's get it done, instead of why can't we do it? One suggestion about bicycles is to put a gate like they have at the Mickey Grove Zoo, a turnstile where you walk through. Bicycles can't get through that. Bicycles people with bicycles have been told to leave by the coaches, so it is a problem, yes, but I think it can be dealt with a proper gate. There has been vandalism. It breaks my heart. That track is a work of art. It's beautiful. And if you jog on it, run on it, as Mr. Womack knows because he was there at the the beginning, you know, the grand opening, it's just an exhilarating feeling to run on that track as opposed to run on the dirt. And it's more healthful. There have been many cases where I've talked with somebody who's going in there when I was leaving, and I'm excited. Hey, you're going to the track, what do you think? And the guy says, yeah. I was doing running on the street. When I got home, I had to put ice. Now I'm going to the track, no ice. I know other people who are going there for rehabilitating their muscles and things, and I see improvement and progress. About the vandalism. The vandalism occurred when the gate was locked. The people jumped the fence. There have been, I'll call them campers, other people call them homeless. The homeless people have been found on campus there. The homeless person went over a higher fence to do his or her thing than the fence around the track. Jumped the fence. They went into the baseball diamond in the new field there, and they were so smart they stayed in the dugout. They jumped a higher fence than the fence that was around the track. I've been told something that I'm going to try to change, and that is that the track one can be used a little bit more because people, and it can get worn down a little more. So I'm going to, next time I go out there, if it's open, I'm going to go on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, or 8. Well, the only reason I want to run is because I'm 73, and I want to run 2 miles. If I run 2 miles in the innermost lane, if I run 8 laps in the outermost lane, I'm doing almost a mile more. Well, so do you have any questions for Lodi Joe? And I appreciate you letting me talk. And this has been a very emotional time for me, hearing the teachers here, because I was at Vinewood for 29 years.
He was great.
But anyway, any questions for Lodi Joe?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lodi Joe. Any comments? My turn.
Good evening. My name is Joyvita Bradford, and I'm a public health associate, and I'm here to advocate for the importance of making sure that there is joint use agreements that happen for tracks. There is a 41.6% obesity rate in this county, and that compares to the nation that has 30%, and that's for youth. And so if you're looking at the ways to stop and make sure that people are living healthy lives, it comes from having access to safe places to walk. And so I'd encourage you to look for other options and joint use agreements with other parties, including the city or maybe the county facilities, in order to hopefully open this up, because it has an important part of the community, and there was a lot of community effort that was put forth to have the track be accessible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments?
I brought Joe here, but my name's Steve Scott.
Steve, how you doing, Steve?
Hi, Joe.
My gosh, I haven't seen you in a while.
Ex-track coach.
Yeah.
Yes, also track coach at Tokay and Lodi.
Yes.
So I've been here almost 50 years.
Oh, you bet.
I've seen that track used. It's basically a jogging track. So when you talk about shoes, you don't have to worry about the joggers wearing those type of shoes. They mainly wear this regular tennis shoes and so forth. We used to worry about bicycles when it was a dirt track. Again, I've been reported more than once for taking my car and using the drag to drag the routes out of the track from the mud and so forth. But anyway, now it's not. We have several jewels in this town, and that track is our newest jewel. And jewels are nice to look at, but also they should be used and just not to look at. So I'm a supporter of joggers, because joggers just don't run between 4 and 6 or 6 and 8. I have actually taken counts of joggers, and when we had General Mills, the people, the shifts, they would actually come there and jog in the evenings or off the shift time. So jogs, when joggers jog in the morning, you jog in the afternoon, during the summer, during the Easter break, summer break, and so forth. So that track is being used more than just between 5 and 7 or whatever it might be. So I am and if you start looking at it, the most famous tracks in California, Modesto Junior College, we're talking about down south, talking about University of Oregon, it's almost they automatically go on the track. They just stay off lane 1 and 2, like Joe said. They jog on lane 3, 4, and 5. People that jog the track are actually your policemen or your watchers, because they'll tell anybody, hey, get off the track or do this, do that. They become our goodwill people. And of course, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have a question, please ask, because, like I said, there have been up to 100 people a day jogging on that track, and I'm a Boy Scout, and that's Boy Scout honor.
Another comment?
Hi, my name's Lori Merrill, and my husband Monty and I, we own Lodi Physical Therapy here in town, and so I'm speaking on behalf of the people who donated, the community members who donated to this track. And it was our understanding that we're donating to a public facility that the public would be able to use, and we're very upset about hearing all these stories about people being kicked out and not being able to use the facility. We contributed a large sum of money to this track, and I'm hoping that the community can use it. As others have said, my son ran track at Lodi High, graduated in 2006. He ran in college. Every track I've ever been to has a sign that says track can be used by the public, but during track practice, please use outside lanes. The coaches are there during that time and can monitor it. They like to have community members out there as long as they're not bothering the practice, which I don't think they ever do. Do they, Ryan?
No.
We're really hoping that the school board will see fit to have the track open to our great community that contributed to it.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Erin Aiken, Athletic Director. Yes, the other side, Ryan knows. I've had this conversation with them. I'm here as an ambassador for the facilities at Lodi High School and the student athletes and the protection of not only the student athletes, but the facilities themselves. I think there is a misconception of being able to have access to the facility. People do have access to our facilities if they follow the proper process. I am very well known for being an individual who follows the process and wants people to follow the process so that I know that I can ensure the safety of all of our student athletes and students at Lodi High School. As I stated before to Mr. Neely, he's heard me before as well, we have people on campus at a high school. If you've never visited a high school or been to a high school, there literally are students there till 9 p.m. or later. Oftentimes, sometimes 9:30, and they are student athletes, which is an extension of the school day. We are not allowed to mix public with our students for safety and liability issues. Much like if you want to come out and visit a classroom, you're going to sign in at a front office. What liability do we have by allowing anybody to come onto the campus? Currently, as it is, people do have access to our facilities through the facility use permit. Through that process, I know who's on the track. If they have been approved, they have the proper insurance to be able to utilize the track. They are very low cost to be able to rent the facilities. I know that just from what I've been told by other individuals. And that way I know who's there and who's not there. I've even given the option to the track coaches for Mr. Hammond, since he has been such a loyal individual. I said, hey, make him a volunteer coach. Get him fingerprinted, he could be out there and he could be running anytime he'd like. So there's ways around it. We are working with Mr. Neely. There is, the district, in my opinion, has a process in place. We are not denying the use to anybody. We are just requesting that people go through the proper process and channels so that we can regulate not only the facilities, but the safety of our student athletes. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron, can I ask you a question? I'm up here.
Oh.
I know there are speakers back there. Seeing as how it is a discussion, we can kind of interchange. Yes. So let's say I want to go to high school track X, and because I want to jog from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and I'm just one person. Is the district saying that I have to have a use permit?
Correct. So it's to utilize any facilities, you would do a use permit, because one individual is really no different than an organization. In all honesty, when you look at it as far as being able to utilize a facility. Same as if you want to use a classroom, in my opinion. If it's one person versus a whole group, it's a process that you go about to be able to utilize a facility.
So then person, we would go and we would unlock the track for that one person?
Correct, because they did a facility use and we're basically renting the
Then
facility.
another person wants to use it another time, and we'll go unlock it for them?
Just like we do for the, if anybody would like to utilize the weight room, a field. Our people rent a field.
This is way different.
Pool.
What we could do.
It's not different in my opinion.
What we could do, actually, is if the concern, and this is what we need to do, we need to look at each one of the concerns and say, well, how can we fix that? How can we eliminate that concern? If the concern is about people being on campus, then what you do is you put a locked gate, and I love the idea of the turnstile setup. You put a locked gate outside, and then the rest of it is fenced off from the school so people can't get in there. They could only get into the track. If you use a turnstile, they can't take in bicycles and baby carriages and all that kind of thing. And if we do have people there at 9 o'clock, that's perfect. Then we have custodians there longer than that, and they can lock it up, so it won't cost us a thing.
I do want to respond also. I've been the athletic director at Lodi High School for 6 years, but have been at Lodi High for 15 when it was a dirt track. And even when I first began as the athletic director, there was a facility use that you had to complete even to utilize the dirt track. Was it locked down? No, because I didn't have access or the ability to do that because it wasn't fenced in. But that process was still in place even with the dirt track. Did people misuse that process? Yes. Are people still currently, today, misutilizing the process and going on the track? Yes. We did not have access to permanently lock down the track until just about 2 weeks ago, where we had Primus keys. There was one gate that was never locked. So if you did see people out there, it's because they were able to get into it because it was not locked down. I also had to just kick off an individual who was intoxicated just last week when I was getting ready to come to class at 4:30 in the afternoon. So again, yes, it's open, people can come by, but I don't know who's coming. I don't know if it's a child molester. I don't know if it's somebody who had just committed a crime or will commit a crime. I need to protect the people that are at that site. That's what I am charged to do as the athletic director, and that's the facilities.
Absolutely. We currently do that we have fenced off our area. But if that track is also fenced off from the rest of the school, locked off, then people could come into that without going on to the rest of the campus. There are ways that we can do this, and as far as procedures go, we set the procedures. We can change any procedure we want on this.
And I don't have an issue. I think it comes back to what Dr. Washer mentioned before. The opportunities are there and the possibilities for it to be supervised, then the liability is no longer there. If that's something the board desires to do, when it's open, when I know that track practices are typically over at 5:30, it's usually when our facility uses will begin for most outside users, depending on the facility, then it could be a 5:30 to 7 where somebody is paid to supervise it. That's part of the facility use. That's part of the process, the policy, the procedure that, in my opinion, people need to follow so that we know who's on there, or if it's a community hour time, it's supervised by a district employee. I don't think anybody here, either myself or Mr. Lawson, have an issue with that.
That'd be great. And Aaron, thank you for your passion on this. I really appreciate it.
I have another follow-up question. I think the letter that I read that was sent in wasn't so much about the hours when the kids are there. It was about weekends and it was about holidays and stuff like that and being totally closed up. So is that an issue as far as how that would handle it if we eliminate the issue of being around the kids and what have you? I mean,
right now, our track team does not compete on the weekends, utilize the track, so the availability would be there, but the liability still lies with making sure that you have supervision of the facility, which comes back to having a district employee. So that, again, we know who's on having access to that facility during that time, because as you are probably familiar with the facility use agreements, if we feel that an organization, a group, or an individual is misusing the facility, causing damage in some way or doing something illegal, we can prevent them from utilizing those facilities because we know who they are. So I also feel that if through that proper process and supervision during that public time, if there's supervision, something were to occur, then the board could make that decision and say, you know what, the community hour time is not working, or the community hour time is very effective and working well.
those are the kind of things we need to have come back to us to look at, because there's a big difference between unfettered time. You just go whenever you want. There's certain hours of operation.
And to give you an idea, also on Saturday times, even our own sporting groups will have events. Maybe there's a tournament going on. we are paying our custodial staff to be our own sports teams on a Saturday. So to now open up where the public's not even purchasing or having to pay for the use of the facility and the maintenance of it is kind of contradictory to what we're doing to our own student athletes and programs at the high school.
I think it's important, Dr. Washer, when we do look back at this, that we have the whole perspective. We want to make it work, but we also have to have checks and balances in place and maybe limited hours or whatever it might be. So that's, I think that's,
I would get a resolve on this, Dr. Washer, and maybe with a foundation that donated this money, there's some people there that are instrumental on that and influence. That could be a possibility also. And things that we can actually have usage of that track. I was AD before, and I always maintain that if the facility is not being used, why not open it up to the public? But again, Aaron, you find out that the liability part of it, and our hands are tied because of that type of liability that we have. So consequently, I could not allow anybody in there, you know, and then they call you names and everything. I said, sorry, you just can't do that, you know. But let's have some type of resolve, even though we have to pay somebody for it, if the foundation and association agrees to do that. And then, of course, with the agreement of Bob and Aaron.
Yeah, and I just want to make one more comment to note. When people utilize the facilities, that's great. It's even better when they do have to rent the facilities. But you need to understand, and I don't think people do understand, I do not have a working budget to run athletics, nor do the other 3 high schools. So when people rent, say, a gym and a basketball net gets broken or ripped during that outside user time, I am paying for that out of my own budget. That again, I do not get a working budget. It is created through GATE and through private donations and through fundraising of my own. So really, is that fair?
Okay, Mr. Calkin.
Dr. Washer, I would assume, and this is an assumption, that anything the board decides to do with regard to the track at Lodi High School is also going to affect Bear Creek, McNair, and Tokay.
Yes, you're correct.
So we have to look at whatever options, and I'm going to use the word options more than one, and costs that would need to come from the district through you to the board so that we can address the situation.
Okay, bring you that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Neal?
And on your point there about things that come out of your budget, then that's something that needs to be changed. I mean, if we rent it out, if we rent it out, and see, I mean, we can do this. If we work together on this, we can come up with a solution to the issue.
And I think you just said that. We can rent it. And that's part of that process. That's the facility use process that is in place. We do not deny access to the facilities at Lodi High School nor any of the schools when people follow the proper process with liability and facility use agreements.
I don't want to rent it to Lodi Joe. I don't want to rent it.
Again, we'd love to have Lodi Joe be an
I want to let him
assistant
use it for free.
But you know what? I wish that we had a whole community of Lodi Joes. There wouldn't be a concern. But unfortunately, we don't. And there may be one Lodi Joe that comes on, and I have 2 that are whatever Joes, which I face on a consistent basis, either myself or other administration or my campus supervisors. So Mr. Hammond's not the problem.
I'm sorry.
And I think what happens is that we are creating a situation based on a Lodi Joe versus what we unfortunately are really facing.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Loftus.
Dr. Washer, members of the board, just a little perspective. A while ago, we had some vandalism all over the alley. We had, over the weekend, people were taking up water main covers and chucking them through classroom windows to get access to the electronics in there. So at that point, before we had our cameras, we had Alamo come out and set up some cameras just to monitor what was happening on the weekends, LOI. And they were astonished when they got the recordings back at how many people drift through these campuses doing all kinds of stuff. So that leads me to the point that weekends are when we are the most vulnerable. At least during the week, there's somebody around, custodians, someone to at least notice something on these, whether it's the track, the pool. We've had people get up on the roof, jump into the pool. Flat roofs are what it's easy to do, okay? So the weekends is when we see an astonishing amount of just vagrant kind of traffic and irresponsible traffic through our school sites. So when we're talking about using something like the track and just on the weekend is when I guess I would have my most concern, because we literally have no way to monitor who's going through there. And the campus is wide open, then anyone who's drifting through, we can't monitor it. We only pick it up on cameras after the fact. And so that's my biggest concern as to when a wide open campus will get abused. And I don't know how you get around the liability issue under those conditions, but you know, I'll echo what everybody else has said here. We're not opposed to letting the public use the track as long as we follow the process that protects everyone, the school, the district. So but the weekends are a nightmare. If you saw some recordings of the ongoing traffic that's there that's not supposed to be there.
Is the campus open?
Yeah, there are parts of it that are and parts of it are not. When you take a campus like mine, it's very difficult to circle the entire thing.
And your pool is fenced off.
It's fenced off.
People are getting inside.
Yeah. People have a history of getting inside.
Too, people are getting inside. Same thing at Tokay.
Yes, except
what I'm saying is that we need to try to work this out where maybe we don't have all those kinds of problems.
Yeah. I would say if there's some form of supervision, that's what protects everybody. And it protects the track for the generations of children who that track was primarily built for. It protects the integrity of the facility for them and keeps us all from getting sued for every penny we're worth. So just my perspective on it.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Monty Merrill. I have TSH Lodi Physical Therapy, and again, we were one of the donors for the track. The track wouldn't have been wouldn't be this big of a problem if we didn't build it for the school district. And we wanted this for the community as well as for the students. And I think the liability issues that are brought up, you'll have people walking into the track. What about people playing soccer over at Lakewood School, or playing soccer at Lodi Middle, or playing basketball at any of the other campuses? That walk on are free to walk on and walk off. If they go and break an ankle on there, you're just as liable as you are if they did something on the track. So that's one of the issues right there. We put on an event this past week, the Lodi Mile, that was raising more funds for the Lodi track. We brought in professional athletes, Olympians and world U.S. record holders. They wanted to work out after the race. They hopped the fence and used the track. They couldn't go in and use it by themselves. And some of the comments I heard were that, you know, what's up with this? They're up in Oregon. They have free access to all the facilities up there, and it's all part of the community. It's a community-based thing, and what they have there is a pride of ownership. When you have the track, when you're a public member in the track, you're the watchdog. If somebody, you aren't going to let people screw up your playground, and that's part of that community base, and you build the support in there. And again, it frustrates me after putting in that much money into a track to be told, no, that's, you know, you're not important, your donation was worthless and it was a waste of time. So I think we need to find a way to have the community-based product that we put together.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was well put, that if it were still a dirt track, we wouldn't be talking about it. And I think a lot of people donated and did a lot of work to make it a useful, nice, all-weather track, and now it's not available. I think that's difficult, and I think there's enough people in this room that if we have the will to find a solution that is a balanced, workable solution, we can. But we have to have the will to do it.
Ryan, you had some
comments? I want to speak up here just because I'm not speaking as a student representative.
Oh, you bet.
But just as a user of the track, as an athlete, and as a member of the community. So here's what I have. First of all, Mr. Merrill, I think that the points he brought up were incredibly intelligent and right in that all of the other campuses around Lodi Unified that have just as big of a liability, whether it be Lakewood, whether it be Lodi Middle, even you could say the earlier parts closer to Pacific Avenue on Lodi High's campus, and we have these giant trees out there that kids can climb and they can fall from. So with all of those things, there are these liabilities everywhere. I don't think that we can just say, you know, it's just the track, so we can, you know, there's a liability there. We have liabilities all across the campus. This is no specific incident. Moving on from there, I know this has been brought up before, but a lot of these problems, whether it be the graffiti, whether it be homeless people, whether it be people jumping fences to get into pools, all of these are happening with the standards that are in place. When we have things fenced off, when we have cameras, motion sensors, these happen with that. So I don't think the proper solution to solve these problems, 'cause, I mean, I think unanimously we don't want homeless people sleeping in sheds, we don't want, you know, people jumping in pools at midnight over fences. So I don't think the solution though is just, you know, more and more of these things that aren't working. You know, I mean, we're gonna like build a bigger fence around the track. Like Mr. Merrill said, these elite runners, if any of you got to go out to the Lodi Mile, it was an amazing experience. I mean, the guys running under 4-minute miles, which is really, really fast. You know, but I mean, you know, like I said, they went over to the track and they could hop it. It's a 6-foot fence. We have kids out there that don't even need to touch the fence and can hop it. You know, so I just don't think that those are the solutions. I understand everything Mrs. Aiken's been saying, Mr. Ofsted's been saying about the liability and whatnot, but these, I just feel like these aren't the proper solutions to be putting in. Now, on a personal level, I owe almost everything that I have to that track. My next 4 years have been dictated largely because of that track. So the track coaches, the track donors, the track supporters has like dictated my future. I know I'll be coming back home for spring breaks, I'll be coming back home for summer breaks, and I want to be able to come to that track on a Thursday in June and just walk on and be like, oh, I remember going door to door selling tickets. I remember selling, you know, cookies or raffle or I don't remember what we sold specific, you know, but Rick's Pizza Night flyers, you know, I remember doing all of that so that I knew I could come back here in 3 years to have this sort of facility. I remember personally being up here when it was still just a filthy, dirty track. I remember Coach Rodriguez started off his speech by saying, I'm filthy because I came from the track. You know, he was in like shorts and just dirt everywhere on him. And it was a long time ago, it was distant past. But you know, I remember saying, you know, one of the big selling points of this track would be that it is a community thing. I remember points for it were that it would increase the housing value all around because we now have this sort of facility that Lodi can call ours. And I think that we have this gem, you know, we have this beautiful thing that we should use. We should show it to our community, whether it be to solve obesity or for whatever reason. This is what we have. We should be using it. And then lastly, I mean, I know these goals of Lodi becoming a track town, whether it be that Lodi Mile that has expanded over the last 3 years, over the last 3 years. We're going to be having a street vault downtown Lodi during the street fair this upcoming fall. You know, we have these these athletes going to some of these great schools for sports. We are becoming a track town, and that's amazing to be doing. I'm like a central hub of Northern California athletics. That's amazing. And this is like one of our schools in our school district that has these facilities that can really utilize that. And I think we need to do everything we can to emphasize that, to get, you know, the young kids out there to start early so that they can be scholarship athletes, or just even just to be in shape so that they can, you know, spend time with friends. I think one of the best arguments that I've heard so far tonight was that when we give this track to the community watches it. You know, if we put these fences in place, if we put these locks on these padlocks, I mean, I know these coaches, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I know some of the restrictions right now are like, oh, the coaches are responsible for this gate, but not this gate because this one's by custodians and this one's by that. Like, it's just ridiculous right now to try to manage any of this stuff. When really I think the unanimous goal is just the best athletics, the best community. Yeah, and lastly, I mean, with these donations that we've had, these incredibly generous donations from these benefactors around town, where they believed that they were putting this money to a cause that would support our entire community. I mean, honestly, if, you know, put this sort of money into something where they thought it was the community, for then to suddenly hear, no, it's going to be fenced off, this and that, I'd be incredibly upset and not want to be donating to this sort of district or any sort of these facilities any longer. I mean, it's this gem that we have, and I think we really need to utilize it to its fullest potential. And then lastly, I believe that all of the Lodi Track Club, the Lodi Track team, anyone on the track squad would be very, very happy to work with all of you, the people that are there on a day-to-day basis, whether it be the coaches or any of the athletes or administrators, would be more than happy to work with all of you to try to come to a conclusion that works for the entire community, because Lodi's gonna be amazing in a few years. Like this is the hub of Northern California for track, and that's what it's becoming. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for your points. Are well taken. Okay, actually, to conclude this, Dr. Washer, you have enough information to go to and you bring it back to us. Thank you, Mr. Sun, for attending today and explaining the situation to us, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's your phone, don't forget it.
Any other board comments? Any, let me see, we have some board advisory, committee report.
I just have a question.